Ms. Marks?
Oh, Don's here.
Yes.
Yes, I am here. I was having difficulties getting in. So if you could mark it on the record that I am in attendance, please.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we can get going on here again. So now I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-030.
So moved, Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by
I'll
Mr.
second.
Schuman and a second by Mr. Paulson to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-030. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? We are now in public hearing. Okay, are John or Lisa Kerr here, Knur, whatever you pronounce that? Okay. They on.
We're on Zoom?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Go ahead.
Hi there, yes, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we're, both John and I are here.
So state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Lisa Knur, 763 Cynthia Drive, Sandwich, Illinois, 60548.
Okay, what would you like to tell the committee, ma'am?
Well, we've got the permit in for the allowance of a shed prior to building our cabin in the spring. And I'm not quite sure what other information you would need from me.
Got any comment on that, Jay?
I don't.
Okay. All right. I guess that's, if that's all you got, that's fine, ma'am. We'll go with what you got there.
Okay.
You guys have any questions for him?
No.
Okay, all right. Is there anybody that would like to speak in favor of this CUP out there? None? Anybody want to speak in opposition of the CUP? Okay. All right, if nobody has nothing to say, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-030.
I'll move to come out of public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Paulson and a second by Mr. Betcher to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-030. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Town of Hunter, CUP 21-030, John and Lisa Knur. Legal description is previously read into record. This permit is desired for a 16 by 32 shed or accessory structure on vacant lot, subject to 4.26 parent 1, which does have automatic conditions as set forth in the ordinance and the staff report.
Okay. Okay, committee. Turn it over to you.
I'll move to approve the conditional use permit application. And I would include the conditions as outlined in the staff report. I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson and a second by Mr. Betcher to approve the CUP number 21-030. Any more discussion?
Yes, sir. In discussion, Jay, these set forth conditions, are they pretty standard with all of our rezones or CUP?
They are with this request of a CUP, be it that it is for an accessory structure on vacant property, which gives an applicant up to a 3-year time frame to pull a land use permit for the construction of the house or principal structure. So yes, that is a automatic condition, and it is one that's already set forth in ordinance.
Betcher?
Yeah, hey, Jay, I don't have a question on this specifically regarding one of the letters you read. It said one of the landowners, adjacent landowners, was denied an 8 by 10 structure.
Mhm.
Is that accurate? Because that would be less than 100 square feet. So
Right, so there's kind of two different scenarios that play out here. One is, you're not allowed an accessory structure regardless of size on vacant property unless you were to apply for a conditional use permit, which still then is a requirement that you're building a primary house within 3 years. And that's part of our new business for discussion, is whether or not we start to allow those smaller accessory structures basically indefinitely on vacant property. I don't remember that individual circumstance from the letter that I had written, but he would have been explaining those same protocols, that you can't have it there indefinitely, but there is an option with a conditional use permit that you could at least have it there for 3 years, but then have to build a house. So maybe his circumstance was he wasn't looking at building a house within 3 years.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the CUP 21-030. Any more discussion? Mr. Paulson?
We should vote, right?
Well, I'm gonna have to do it after.
No, I'm just waiting.
Okay.
We're finding a fact.
Okay, roll call. Kathy?
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Don Pettit,
Yes.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
All in favor. Thank you.
Okay, finding of facts that would not be damaging to the rights of others nor property values.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, conditional use permit number 21-023, Vaughn Skilly. This is a public hearing in the town of Bass Lake. Agent Milestone Materials, part of government lot 1, parcel 00294033510, and part of the northwest 1 quarter, the northeast 1 quarter, parcel 0029403312001, all in section 33, township 40 north, range 9 west. 54.99 total acres, zoned to agricultural 1. Permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit 18-019 for the location and operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. This CUP was originally approved in May 19, 1995, and most recently renewed in October 19 of 2018. As per the staff report, again, this permit is desired for a 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 18-019 for a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. This would be for a 5-year renewal. This property is approximately 55 acres with the current operation area of approximately 17 acres. Expansion is planned to progress to the north within the current permitted area of 35 total acres. This expansion would be going closer to County Highway K. The surrounding use is forestry, agricultural, and light residential, as well as other non-metallic mineral operations to the south. The nearest house is approximately 1,200 feet away from the current pit area, not including the owner of the pit's residence. The zoning department does not have or have received any complaints on file for this site. There was some discussion last time for hours of operation, as the 3 pits in the area have slightly different hours of operation. Financial assurance has been received for $30,000 in the form of a bond. As part of the staff report as well, I would list the possible conditions is to maintain compliance with NR 135, which is the reclamation plan, maintain compliance with the plan of operation, including normal hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday with no holidays, with crushing operations from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, with expanded hours of 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday for 3 weeks per year. Maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and to follow all other town, county, state, federal laws. As part of the action from the town board, motion was approved. Justin Hall, town chair, Marshall Savitsky, supervisor, Dave Albert, supervisor, Don Adams, supervisor, Bob Hammond, supervisor. Granting of the conditional use would not be contrary to the public interest and would be in compliance with the spirit and intent of the Sawyer County zoning ordinance and the town of Bass Lake's comprehensive plan, section 8.10, because it would not be damaging to the rights of others or property values. The pit has been in existence for 30+ years. It would be compatible with the surrounding uses in the area, as there are 2 pits in the same area. It would not create an objectionable view, as it cannot be viewed from County Highway K. Approval is the following conditions: is owners must maintain compliance with the proposal and the requirements of NR 135, non-metallic mining reclamation of the Sawyer County zoning ordinances for non-metallic mining reclamation. Town of Bass Lake Planning Committee made the recommendation for approval to the town board. That was signed Erica Waschirsky, town clerk. 6 opinion letters sent out, 2 were returned, both with no objections. I have no objections. Select Materials LLC, I have no objections. James and Marla Chuddy. That is all.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-023.
Motion,
make it.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Pettit to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-023. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Is the agent that want to speak for that here? State your name, ma'am, and your address or what.
Good morning, Candy Anderson with Milestone Materials and Monarch Paving, 768 US Highway 8, Amory, Wisconsin. And Jay did a really good job with the staff report. There isn't much to add to that. So if anybody would have any questions for it, we are just mining aggregates for Sawyer County work and a little bit of township work. And 2019, we took quite a bit out for the Hayward project that was going on here in town. So there's no changes proposed to what we're already doing in our existing permit.
Mr. Schuman?
Yeah, what is your name again, ma'am?
Candy Anderson.
Okay, and you also represent Todd's Ready Mix, correct?
I
recognize you.
yeah.
Okay.
I
Are
get
the- I
around.
got 2 questions for you. Are
Yes.
the hours of operation going to stay the same that they've been previously?
Yes,
Okay. And you're expanding your pit a little bit, right? You have 55 acres or so, and you're going to expand to 35 acres? That's,
yes. So we only expand what we need for specific, when we come in and crush materials. So we're at about 17 open acres right now. And it's been like that for a number of years. We don't go in and open more just to open more. So eventually, through the life of the mine, there would be a total, I think it's 35 acres.
sure. And is there a buffer around the edge of that?
There is a buffer. The south line, I believe I think I have it written down actually, because I knew you'd ask. We have a 300-foot setback from the east property line, and we're actually farther than that right now, but that's our allowed distance. And that was agreed upon back when the original permit was received in 1995. We have a 60-foot setback on the other property lines. And then currently we're about 700 feet away from the west line. And we're 60 feet right now to the south line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Pettit, you got any questions?
No, sir. I'm just listening and looking at the map.
Okay. All right. No more questions. All right, thank you. Jay, do we got anybody on the sheet there that wants to talk?
Not for
Okay.
this one.
All right. Is there anybody out there that would like to speak in favor of this CUP number 21-023? Is there anybody out there that would like to speak in opposition of 21-023? Okay, if not, no hands up, Mike? Okay. I make a motion to come out, or I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Town of Bass Lake, CUP 21-023, owner Vaughn Skilly, agent Milestone Materials. Legal description is previously read into record. This CUP is for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 18-019 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. Again, the staff report did have possible comments as listed on them. So any motion you would want to either reaffirm the staff report's conditions or make changes to those conditions. That would be the case with other conditional use permits we're going to be hearing here this morning.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
I have a question. Jay, are all the hours, excuse me, all the hours of operation consistent with, in amongst all these pits?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, any reason why they're not?
They were done at different times. So different operators, when they came in, had different times and dates that would work out for them. Certain pits include crushings on Saturday and even potentially into Sunday during the construction seasons. Some have hours from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Why and how those were ever differed, I couldn't begin to fathom. We are trying to be more consistent on those moving forward. These specific hours on this conditional use permit are probably some of the tighter windows of operation that I've seen in other ones. So I don't know if there's a standard out there. It really kind of depends on the area as well. If you have residential area, well, maybe you trim down the hours of operation so that you're not disturbing the neighbors. If you're out in the middle of the national forest where your nearest neighbor is over a mile away, well, then why limit those hours, to something different? So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve CUP number 21-023, also reaffirming the staff report conditions.
I'll second.
that.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Legal wants to tell us something.
Briefly note that the Wisconsin statutes and your ordinances do allow variations in those conditions. And as Jay stated, you look at the unique aspects of the property, the unique characteristics, and then a judgment call is made as to what those specific conditions are. So you're acting within the framework of the statutes.
Okay, Mr. Schuman, you made a motion to approve.
I did, sir.
Do we have a second?
Jesse.
Jesse? Yeah. Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Betcher to approve the CUP number 21-023. Any more discussion? Okay. Ms. Pettit?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right, if no more discussion, Kathy, roll call, please.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweet Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay.
Okay, and finding the facts, it would not create an objectionable view, and it would be compatible with the surrounding uses and the area.
Thank you. Moving on, this is a public hearing in the town of Lenwood. Conditional use permit number 21-024. Owner Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC, part of the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, parcel 0149411113202. That's in section 11, and parcel 0149411113102. As well as section 11, township 41 north, range 9 west, 50 total acres, zone forestry 1. Permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-015 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. This CUP was originally approved on February 15, 2001, and most recently renewed October 19, 2018. As part of the staff report, again, this is for a 5-year renewal of conditional use permit 18-015. This would be for a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. The property is currently 50 acres with the operation area of approximately 4. Expansion is planned to progress to the north, east, and west. This expansion would be further away than other residences, and this current site is further away from other residences than other pits in the area. The surrounding use is forestry, light residential, and other non-metallic mineral operations. The nearest house is approximately 3,000 feet away from the current pit area to the north. The zoning department does not show any recent complaints on file for this site. Financial assurance, some of my staff reports actually reference incorrect financial assurances. So I want to make sure I get those into record here. This is for ready mix. No, this one might be right. I think it's it's the other ones here. So this one is financial assurance for $9,000 in the form of the bond. The current hours of operation and crushing hours are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's a correction here on it says house, it should be out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The current hours of operation. Thanks. Again, with the staff report and the possible conditions, maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with plan of operations, including normal hours of operation and crushing from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days per week. Again, the committee can set other hours or days of operation and or crushing. Also to maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and all other town, county, state, and federal laws are to be followed. As part of the town's decision, motion was approved. Gordy Christians, Town Chair, Michael Bandro, Supervisor, Jack Schustrom, Supervisor, Jason Sustrom, Supervisor. The board approved a motion for conditional use permit number 21-024 contingent that Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC change their crushing hours to begin at 6 a.m. and stop crushing at 6 p.m. This time change was for crushing hours only. Carol Stone, Town Clerk. There were 3 opinion letters sent out. 1 was returned with no objections. I have no objections to this. James Miller, that is all.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-024.
I'll make it.
You want to second it, Ms. Pettit?
Yes, that's fine.
We have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Ms. Pettit to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-024. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. Sir? State your name.
Good morning, Jerry Thompson with Todd's Ready Mix out of Rice Lake.
Is there anything you want to tell this committee?
Yep. So I did, we went in front of the Leonard Town Board. We came to a conclusion of that 6 a.m., 6 p.m. I am fine with a 6-day rather than a 7-day. We can include that in the going forward as far as not needing a Sunday for crushing. The 4 acres that are mined on there currently were mined by the county, not by us. We acquired that land from the county. Already started on that one.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Betcher.
Yeah, so what about the 2 hours reduced for the crushing each day? Is that going to affect you as well or not?
The 2 hours definitely, it would affect, but not terribly. And it was part of a negotiation to try to come to a conclusion on hours of operation, so.
And do you have a limit on the number of days you're allowed to crush in there as well?
I wouldn't have a limit on number of days, just days of the week. And like I say, we are foregoing the Sundays.
Okay. Ms. Patty, you got any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
I do, Mr. Chairman, if you get the.
Go ahead, Mr. Schuman.
Okay. Previously, we had a lot of discussion on reclamation process and where you've been. Can you?
So on this particular property, no, just due to the fact that we're not mining there yet. We've got several here today. There's another piece of property that we have done some reclamation on this year that we did early spring. But like I say, not on this piece.
Okay. No more questions? Anybody out there would like to speak thank you, sir. Speak in favor of this CUP? None, Jay?
Not in favor, no.
Mike, anybody got their hand up? Okay. Anybody out there that would like to? Go ahead, sir. You are in favor or opposition? Okay, anybody out there that wants to speak in opposition?
Yep, and I do have a sheet here for Dennis Erickson.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Dennis Erickson. I live at 15499W Leo's Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. I certainly understand the need for gravel and concrete. I have ordered probably more than most, but procuring the materials has to be done properly, including the protection, the respect and consideration of its neighbors. And once a pit is paid out, a timely, true restoration must take place. Having recently been on the committee going over our township's comprehensive plan for the next 10 years, extending gravel pit operations does not fit. Rock crushing is not just the crusher itself, but all the other equipment necessary to accommodate it, from end loaders to conveyors, etc. Extremely disruptive to its neighbors. With no doubt in my mind, a crushing operation needs a very large buffer. That's certainly more than 1,000 feet with operating hours that work for the neighbors. No weekends, no holidays as observed by the U.S. Post Office, and starting no earlier than 6 a.m. and running no later than 6 p.m. Using the term a bedroom township to describe Lenroot Township, I believe is fair. We are where folks providing the labor for the surrounding communities go to where they call home. We are also home to many second homeowners and retirees such as myself. Your neighbors deserve to come home and be able to enjoy their free time, whenever that might be, without the very disruptive intrusions of a crushing operation. Lenroot Township is a peaceful place to live. We have very nice parks and numerous recreational opportunities. We like it that way, and that is why we chose to live here some 40 plus years ago. The following indicates why a crushing operation is not acceptable. The words may be considered, should be considered, or could be considered are not used. The following are not my words, but the words used to determine whether a request is acceptable or not. The following shall be considered: the health, general welfare, safety, and economic prosperity of the county and the immediate areas, the effect on established character and quality, the physical attractiveness, existing topography, drainage features, erosion potential, vegetative cover, preventive and control of water pollution, location of floodplains and floodway, movement of traffic, in relation to existing or proposed roads, and demand for related services. The possible hazards: harmful, noxious, offensive, or nuisance affecting results from noise, dust, smoke, odor, and other factors shall be considered. Back to my word.
Finish her up.
Back to my words. Which of the above terms makes a crusher acceptable? Now is the time to make it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? None? Okay, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-024.
I'll make
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Pettit to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-024. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Town of Lenroot, CUP 21-024, owner Todd Roots Ready Mix Concrete LLC, legal description as previously read into record. Again, this CUP is for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 18-015 for non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. We did hear some comments, not only from the town, but from other individuals and even the agent for this about potential changes to the hours of operation. You would want to certainly memorialize those with any motion that you would make. That is all.
Okay. Committee? Mr. Betcher?
Yeah, can I make a motion to approve the CUP renewal 21-024 as stated with the adjusted hours as briefed by Jay?
So that's where I guess I would, before you make a second, I would want you to confirm those because the town had something different to what the owner said to what the individual with opposition had. So the towns, and let me just remind you, the town says 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And that would just be for crushing hours only. I believe the owner said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. excluding Sundays. And I believe the other individual in opposition said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. no weekends.
So could I clarify to state what the town voted unanimous crushing hours 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days per week,
Yes,
which is what was approved unanimously by the town?
it was.
Was it 7 days or 6 days?
The towns was 7. The towns was just for changes of the hours. And that was just for, and actually in quotes, that is the change for crushing hours only, not hours of operation.
Okay, Mr. Schuman?
But didn't you say, sir, that you would be fine with 6 days and not crushing on Sundays?
Yes, that basically came up after the town meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Could we read the motion again?
Kathy?
Motion to approve with adjusted hours 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. crushing 7 days a week as per town approval.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to clarify that based on some previous discussions I had, the ready mix plant is not, they don't want to crush on the weekends. They have to, it costs more money, you have to pay overtime and stuff like that. So the weekend thing is just on a, mostly a need, a needed basis for extra, rock that needs to be for, projects that are urgent because of roads wash out because of flooding and stuff like that. So it's not a normal occurrence to be crushing on even a Saturday, the way I understand it. So, but I think it's important to have it in there that they can if they need to, but it's not going to be a normal occurrence.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve CUP number 21-024. Any more discussion?
Yes, sir. I got a question for Jay. Jay, this is just a continuing renewal, correct? Like the third time we renewed this area for a CUP?
Correct. Yeah, it's probably even more than that, to be honest. This is probably close to the 6th renewal on this individual property. Now, again, there's quite a few other conditional use permit renewals in the agenda, and some of them be it on adjacent parcels, but this is a separate parcel, separate owner, separate entity. And this is just that 9-acre open pit area that you have up on the screen there. Kind of hard to see, but there's a black line around that request.
And I guess one more, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mr. Betcher. I just want to put it on the record that I'm in favor of this, continuing this operation, but I am cognizant of the residents that live nearby, that they get a break from this noise and commotion on the weekends, and I appreciate what Mr. Thompson had said, that they would try not to crush on weekends or Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah, AJ, this renewal, in fact, all of these renewals on the agenda were last renewed on October of 2018. So that's 3 years ago, but they're all 5-year renewals. So does the new renewal go into effect now, this month, or will it be 2 years from now when the current one expires?
Correct. No, so we had an ordinance change. This is maybe right on the time that you were coming on, about 2 years ago, where we had an ordinance amendment that switched from a 3-year renewal process to a 5-year renewal process. So yeah, you are spot on with seeing that. Yeah, well, it's only been 3 years. Why are they getting to 5-year now? So we just recently made that ordinance amendment change just a couple years back.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve. No more discussion. Roll call, Kathy?
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay.
Findings of facts, please.
Findings of facts, it would be compatible with the surrounding uses in the area, and it would not destroy prime agricultural lands.
Thank you. Moving on, this is a public hearing, the town of Lenroot conditional use permit number 21-025, owner Todd's Ready Mix, Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC, part of the southeast one quarter, parcel 0149411044001, and parcel 0149411040101, all in section 10, township 41 north, range 9 west, 80 total acres, zone forestry 1. Permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-014 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. The CUP was originally approved in April 20th of 1990, most recently renewed October 19th, 2018. As part of the staff report, again, this is for a 5-year renewal. The property is approximately 80 acres in size with the current pit area of approximately 44 acres. Expansion will progress to the west and north, but remain on this property. No expansion has occurred since the previous renewal. The surrounding use is forestry, light residential, and other non-metallic mineral operations. The nearest house is approximately 1,300 feet away from the current pit area to the west. There was plans last year to rezone an additional parcel to the north and expand this pit further up until the next 40 acres. Ultimately, that rezone and conditional use permit was denied last year. The zoning department does not show any recent complaints on file for this site, but during the public hearing for the expansion to the 40 acres to the north, there were reports filed with the DNR as far as potential wetland fill on this existing pit, and it might have been this pit or the next conditional use permit that we're going to look at, which is a parcel a little bit further towards the east. Those concerns, again, were forwarded on the DNR for wetland fill, as they would be the regulatory agent for wetland fill. I have not heard any response back from that. I'm not sure if they viewed the property or deemed any type of violation with wetland fill. So again, at this point, that is unknown. If there was a violation, I would have gotten and received notice of it. And again, I hadn't. Financial assurance has been received on this property. And this is one as part of the staff report where they just re-upped their financial assurance earlier this year, and I didn't have them in my database. So again, the staff report here references 68,000. We actually have a bond amount now for 73,000. The current hours of operation, crushing hours, asphalt and ready mix plants are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Again, the other conditions as part of the staff report would be maintaining compliance with NR 135, maintaining compliance with plan of operation, including normal hours of operation, crushing and plant operation from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days per week. The committee can set other hours and days for operation. Maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources Chapter 30, and that all other town, county, state, and federal laws are followed. As motioned by the town board, motion was approved. Gordy Christians, town chair, Michael Bandro, supervisor, Jack Schustrom, supervisor, Jason Schustrom, supervisor. The board approved the motion for the conditional use permit number 21-025 contingent that Todd's Ready Mix LLC change their crushing hours to begin 6 a.m. and stop crushing 6 p.m. The time change was for crushing only. Signed, Carol Stone, town clerk. There were 5 opinion letters sent out, 2 were returned, both with objections. I have objections to this by Jerry Etchison. I object to the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-014 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. I believe that is just a diversion to allow them to open up more forest for mineral extraction. I believe that there is not enough open ground over there, and this has begun going on for over 30 years, and there's been no reconstruction of the pit, which is supposed to be taking place. I don't believe that there has been any fines paid since they haven't been reconstructing as they go. It was obvious, it has obviously affected wildlife habitat as well as air pollution. Each tree over its time will sequester over tons of carbon dioxide. This will help with water filtration. There are wetlands in the area there are wetlands in the area that they have done extraction on. I also believe there are wetlands in the area they are wanting to move into. I don't believe that they have the right to extract the minerals from underneath the fire lane and reconstruct that road without government approval. As far as reconstruction, I believe there should be trees planted, especially broadleaf trees that were originally there, not just pines or tall grass. That was, again, objections from Jerry Etchison. I have objections to this. Having been part of our Township Comprehensive Planning Committee, it was our intention to create more housing, return to the previous agricultural areas, continue with recreational and true forestry, and crushing operations do not fit in. It would be obviously affect our lifestyle and our property value, as I'm sure it would yours. A crushing operation requires a much larger buffer. Dennis and Cindy Erickson, that is all.
Okay, thank you. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-025.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Paulson to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-025. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, we are now in public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask Jay to put the map up, the aerial map? I mean, we're talking about a couple, 4 different pits, aren't we, in the same area?
Yep.
So we've got, can we just look holistically at what we're talking about?
Let me get one other. Yeah, let me get one other one. So this one is kind of looking at all of their property that Todd's owns there. So this is kind of the overview. And again, it can be a little bit difficult to see here. No, and this isn't the right one either. I grabbed the wrong parcel. So it's actually these 2 parcels. Let me see if I got another map. I grabbed the wrong parcel too. So it's not including this one that ends in 1401. I must have got jumbled up because there's a parcel ending in 1401, 4101, 4401. So we're talking about parcel that ends in 4101 and parcel that ends in 4401. So not that northern one. That was the one that was requested last year and was denied.
Right.
Let me go back to Todd's map.
Are we operating all of these pits as one unit?
Basically, yes.
Okay. So that's my point, is that we should be considering these, even though you got separate CUPs.
Yeah, and they're slightly divided by other properties then too, so that doesn't look good when you grab a property over here and one over here and combine them as the same conditional use permit. So we are looking at this one here, the one that says Hayward Sand and Gravel right now.
No, I'm not fussing with the CUP process. I'm just saying we should look at everything, and my thinking would be that what we approve for one in terms of hours of operation, all of them should comply with that.
Same hours.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do also.
Because that's a town's recommendation for all of them, right?
That would, yeah, when I was at the town, we talked about all of them together, yes.
Okay. Any Any more questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Schuman.
And you've been extracting gravel from this area since 1990? Jay, did I hear you say that?
That is when the initial conditional use permit was received.
So we didn't buy that property until 2006. When we took it over from the previous owner. The main part of that mining was done by the previous owner. When we talk about the whole east side there, that was all mined by the previous owner. Along that four-wheeler trail there and stuff, that was not mined by Todd's Ready Mix. We've been moving more westerly and northerly. I currently, this spring, we did some restoration on that bottom part. So when you first, on the south end of that property, well over 10 acres got reclaimed this spring. Once we were able to get in there this spring, we sloped that and seeded that.
What does reclaiming? You put the black dirt back, the top
Yeah, we put black dirt on it, seeded it.
Seed it?
Yes, and seeded it, yes.
Any trees?
No trees. There's quite a few trees, as you can see in the picture there. So just the small open areas are what we ended up with. The rest of it was already forested, just from natural growth.
So why wouldn't you plant trees during the reclamation process?
Just due to the fact of there's so many trees there already, and we just typically take it back to grassland. So it was kind of a mix for everything involved.
Is it better for wildlife if it's grass?
I think it's my personal feeling would be that a mix is good. You know, you don't want all of one and all of other, but that's just currently what we did at this property.
Any more?
Is there many years left of gravel?
There,
Bacon.
as far as years, we spread that out. So what we do is this property, we supplement our main property, which we haven't got to yet today, but we will probably next. That's a larger property, and that's at right where our ready mix plant is. So I don't have to truck the material. So I crush there mainly. So we take like 0.2 acres per year here. So it's not a steady ongoing. If I have a large project, we can make good road gravel here. So if I have a large state or town project that comes up, I can go up there and crush and do that. And it supplements, so I'm not taking it all from my home pit. And then we don't have to truck it down there and then process it again on a wash plant. So we pick and choose what projects come out of this area, but it's not high volume.
Where is your main business?
So just a little ways south of here.
So we can't see it, it's not on this map.
It's not on this one, but it
Yeah,
will,
From this one.
yeah, if you go to the more open one.
Yeah, this one will have it. Yeah, this is the main plant down here.
Yeah, you can just see the end of it there.
Yep.
And like I say, that'd be on the next CUP here. So what we would do is if we make a material that's going to go into the ready mix plant, we'd have to truck that down and then put it through a plant. Up there, we try to do road gravel and something like that. And like I say, it's a good source. It makes excellent road gravel. So we try to utilize it for that reason.
So
There's
this
more of
rock
a-
crusher, I'm sorry, so this rock crusher machine is mobile then?
Yes.
You move
they
it around
all-
to different pits?
Correct. And yeah, we hire ours done, yes.
And
So
some
now-
of the noise is contained with mufflers and stuff I see in the,
As far as engine noise, yes. Yep.
So the map that you have up on the screen is more of the holistic overview of that entire operation there. So we just approved the conditional use permit for the Olson Road pit, which they have that small area open there. We're now viewing the Hayward Sand and Gravel one, which is this 80-acre parcel. And next we'll have the Hayward pit, which is where majority of the plant operations
Correct.
occur.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Betcher.
So am I correct in saying you only own one rock crusher that you move from the different pits, or do you have multiple crushers?
We hired our crushing done for the most part. Todd's Ready Mix owns a very small one that we don't do this type of crushing with. So I put it out on basically, where I can get it done cheap and done the best. And that's how we run it. So it's at any given time, it can be, several different crushers that I would hire depending on who gets the bid.
Okay. Ms. Patty, you got any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir. All right, does anybody out there would like to speak in favor of this CUP?
Before we move on, I do have one question
Go ahead,
for mine to kind of solidify here. On this 80-acre parcel, would you have an asphalt plant on that parcel? And also, would you have a ready mix plant on that parcel?
Okay, so currently there was a site there. We tore the ready mix plant down. Like having the option open if a certain state project would come, a lot of times a mobile asphalt or blacktop plant would come in. So that's why those are on there.
Okay.
Like I say, there was one there when we bought it. We tore that down, moved that elsewhere because we had our home pit. So why they're on there is that, the right state job, county job comes up, and we have the ability to bring in a portable plant to take care of those types of operations.
Okay.
All right, anyone out there want to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone like to speak out there in opposition of the CUP? Okay, sir, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Dennis Erickson. I live at 15499W Leo's Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. Again, I'm asking for no operation on weekends or U.S. Postal Service observed holidays and running 6 to 6. We need peace and quiet. If you don't live nearby a crusher, you have no idea what it's like.
Question, sir?
Yes, sir.
Did you appear before the town of Linwood board as well?
Yes, I did.
Anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? Everybody got their hand up, Mike? Okay. Yes, you can.
I don't think we clarified when we started talking about hours of operation. I am looking for the same hours of operation of 6 a.m., 6 p.m., and excluding Sundays on this one also. Yes, I'd like to do that on all of them at this point, yes.
Thank you. Okay, no one else wants to speak in opposition? Okay, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-025.
I'll make it. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Pettit to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-025. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action item for conditional use permit number 21-025. Owner Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. This permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-014 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher, asphalt plant, and ready mix concrete plant. And then just to reference again, the staff report as far as what you would want to solidify for the hours of operation as well as days of operation, including those other plants, be it the crushing plant, asphalt plant, and ready mix plant.
Okay, committee.
Can I make a motion to approve the renewal for CUP 21-025 with the same hours as the previous one, 6 to 6, Monday through Friday, understanding that it would be contingent upon an emergency for them to operate on the weekend.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Mr. Paulson to approve. What?
Just careful about calling Mrs.
I did that last month to somebody. CUP number 21-025. Any more discussion?
Yeah, do we have to state any staff report conditions, or did Mr. Betcher include that? He did, okay.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay. No more discussion? Roll call, Kathy?
I got one thing for discussion. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Truman.
This is a question for Mr. Thompson and maybe the young lady. How deep can you go, and are there restrictions, Jay? And what about the water table and I mean, they've been in this area a long time, so I'm just wondering, are there restrictions to how deep you can go, and are you aware of the water table level?
We are aware of the water table level, and Candy, you want to just fill them in on the restriction?
Candy Anderson, helping out Todd's Monarch Milestone 768 US Highway 8, Amory, Wisconsin 54001. We had a groundwater study done for this property, and the depth out there is kind of dependent upon the deposit. It's kind of hummocky out there. So in some areas, we're going 15 feet deep. Other areas, we're going up to 30 feet deep. We looked at where our deepest part of the floor is that we would go.
Right, I know.
And by the
That's
time we would get done to our final elevation, we're still gonna be at least 30 feet above the groundwater table. So we won't be anywhere near the groundwater table, even when we go to our deepest at 30 feet. But it's a hummocky, varying deposit out there.
Then does that make the reclamation process a little more expensive or time consuming? How do you fill those deep holes?
No. So a lot of times when we're making material out there, we keep a lot of the sand, and we keep all of our topsoil and all of our overburden as required by NR 135. And we have to keep those on site so that the reclamation is easier. So what we do is we come in and we slope the sides, and it's a matter of bringing in bulldozers and haul trucks. So it's a normal part of our operation to do reclamation. It doesn't add any expense if it's a little bit deeper.
Because I say that because one of the objection letters from Mr. Etchison mentioned that he didn't feel the reclamation process was being done. Did I read-
Reclamation is a slow process. The fact that Todd's did 10 acres this spring is remarkable. The reason that the reclamation process is slow is because the opening process is slow. We don't open any acres unless we need to. And a lot of times we can't start reclamation until we open more because we need that topsoil and the overburden from where we've opened to put back on the reclaimed areas. And the reason for that is a lot of our topsoil and our overburden is stored around the perimeter as berms. And those are used for noise and screening buffers. So once we get that set, we got to save that till the end, because otherwise we're going to take away our buffers. So it's a reclaim as you go, give and take, slow process, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any more discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second to approve CUP number 21-025. There's no more discussion. Kathy, roll call, please.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes,
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
all in favor.
G.
It's a fact.
Findings of facts, it would be compatible with the surrounding uses and the area, and it would not destroy prime agricultural lands.
Before we go on to the next one, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Fine with me, Mr. Chair.
Drank too much coffee this morning.
We'll call the meeting back to order.
Okay, I call this zoning meeting back to order.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make an amendment to the previous motion, if I could.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Betcher.
So to make the Todd's Ready Mix, both of the previous motions the same, I would like to amend the hours of operation to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with consideration for emergency operations on Sunday.
And that would be for conditional use permit number 21-023 and conditional use permit number 21-024.
No, 024 and 025.
Yep, correct.
Okay. And Ms. Pettit seconded that, right?
Did she?
I didn't hear her.
She has to second his amendment.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, but,
I'll second.
okay.
amendment to the amendment.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to amend the hours of operation for 21-024 and 21-025. Are we doing this in public hearing? Discussion. Okay, all right. Okay,
Don't I have
we have a motion and a second to do this. Mr. Paulson, you seconded it, right? Okay, so Kathy, let's do a roll call on that.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz?
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes,
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, the town of Hayward, town of Hayward and town of Glenroot. Conditional use permit number 21-026, owners Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC, part of the northwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, and part of the southwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter. Parcel 010-941-142201, also ending in 2101 and 2301 and 2304. Also parcels number 041-941-113401, 3101, and 3301. This is 201.93 total acres, zoned forestry 1 and commercial 1. Permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-016, which is for the location of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher, asphalt plant, and I believe this one also does include the ready mix plant. This CUP was originally approved on the public hearing on December 15th, 2000, most recently renewed October 19th of 2018. As part of the staff report, the approximate acres of the property, again, is 202 acres with the current operation area of approximately 96 acres. Expansion will progress throughout this entire property with plans to excavate approximately 10 acres every 5 years. The surrounding use is forestry, light residential, and other non-metallic mineral operations. The nearest house is approximately 350 away from the pit entrance, with the nearest stockpiles approximately 1,700 feet away. That property owner would be to the south. The majority of the pit expansion would be further to the north and west. The zoning department did receive one complaint for this site with reports of the wetland fill of the existing pit. Those concerns were forwarded to the DNR with no response received by our department. Financial assurance has been received. And again, this is one of those other newer updated financial assurance. This financial assurance is for the amount of $155,300, and that is in the form of a bond. As part of, again, the staff reports for possible conditions, maintain compliance of NR 135, maintain compliance with Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30. All other town, county, state, federal, local laws are followed. The current hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days per week. We have heard of other pits just recently approved here in the area. Those hours of operation, which were recently amended, were 6 a.m., 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday, with only emergency operations occurring on Sunday. As part of the town board, the town of Glenroot approved Gordy Christian's chair, Michael Banjo supervisor, Jack Shusum supervisor, Jason Shusum supervisor. Town board made a motion to approve conditional use permit number 21-026, contingent that the crushing hours be 6 a.m. and stop at 6 p.m. The time change was for crushing hours only. The town of Hayward also approved Gary Gedhart, Henry Bearhart, and Andrea Whitwer. Operation, they did plan changes here. Crushing hours be 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That was signed Bryn Hand, town clerk. There were 9 opinion letters sent out. 3 were returned, one with no objections, 2 with objections, 2 with objections, 1 with no objection. I have objections. I would like more information on exactly what the conditional use permit application is requesting. Is it a renewal of what they already have, or are they requesting to change / addition? I own property that borders their property and are very concerned what their expanded actions close to my property may be. Ronald Kabarick. I have objections to this. We object to the change. The noise in this area is already very high. More and higher berms are needed. The truck traffic on Olson Road is overwhelming. Engine braking and speeding. An asphalt plant would add bad odor to the area and more truck traffic. David Sipe. I have no objections to this. Jeffrey Miles. That is all.
Okay, thank you, Jay. All right, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-026.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Pettit to go into public hearing on 21-026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in public hearing.
Jerry Thompson, Todd's Ready Mix. Seeking the same deal on this one, the 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 6 days a week. And then also just want to clarify that in the discussion with the town, that was restricting the crusher hours and not the plant hours. Just due to the fact that we need to run that ready mix sometimes early. And if there's certain state projects and stuff like that, to where we do bridges, we do them very, very early in the morning. So just to clarify that the rock crusher is what we're wanting or okay with the restriction on, not the plant itself on this particular one.
This is the Hayward pit.
Yes, the Hayward pit, yeah.
And can you talk about the asphalt plant? How long has it been there? It's not new, is it?
No, the asphalt plant is set up there a few times. That's not something that we're adding. It's been there. Here we go again. It comes in on an as-need basis. You know, we did Highway 63 and a few other stuff out of that location with no problems right then. The engine braking, we have a sign in our pit that we are promoting no engine braking. We don't agree with them. We don't want them. However, customer trucks, we don't have control over them. We strongly encourage, and I on a regular basis talk to our people that are coming in and out about speed and about engine braking. As far as that goes, we try to do what we can. Our own trucks, we have a computer program that will send an alert to myself and Todd if our own trucks go over 25 miles an hour on that road. So that's in place. So we're doing what we can with ours, but just like anything else, if you go to the store and buy something and you leave fast, the store has nothing that they can do about that. We do recommend, like I say, we have a sign that says, please no engine braking until we get out to the main highway rather than in our residential area.
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mr. Thompson, has Todd's Ready Mix ever considered a different outlet to 63? I mean, if you ran straight east from your plant, have you looked at that, or has there been any talk of that?
Todd's Ready Mix has not. So does Sand and Gravel, the previous owner. We did look at that, and that was a lot of years ago, 20 plus now. And there was some provisions made there, and it never went anywhere. It would be, through other people's land. We don't own out to Highway 63, so there's some issues there with land ownership and whether you could do that or not. We don't, like I say, we don't own out to Highway 53 or 63.
Can I ask a question even though I'm just an alternate?
Yes, go ahead.
There's a farm adjacent, correct? So you're not, the Tritine farm is right there, right? So
Okay.
they've never had a problem with any of their agriculture because you're there. So that's a moot
No.
point.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Schuman?
Oh, sorry. I just know that, Olson Road, they've really taken a beating, those people, but I think a lot of them moved in there after this plant was already operating.
Correct.
And I'm just wondering how do you get by with getting those trucks in there during the load limits and those seasons, when the frost is going
Sure.
out and that?
So there was a deal a long time ago with the town that we helped maintain that road. So a lot of what went into that road when we widened and beefed it up, basically it was a team. We teamed up on it, low cost gravel, right next to just cost when we did that road, and then what that allowed us to do is to be able to go right from there to Highway 63 without load limits. So we help maintain that. So anything going forward, if there's any of the stuff that happens, is Todd's Ready Mix helps out with those.
Ms. Pettit, you have any questions? Okay. No more? Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anybody out there would like to speak in favor of this CUP? If not, is there anybody out there that would like to speak in opposition of this CUP? Okay, sir.
Dennis,
3 minutes.
15499W Leo's Road, Hayward, Wisconsin. I'd like to confirm what he said about the crusher only was discussed. The plant could operate past those time periods. I've lived where I'm at for 40 years. When they are operating 7 days a week, we get no peace and quiet for 7 days a week. And that's what we're asking for is 5 days a week. We're asking for 6 to 6. We are asking for no holidays that are observed by the U.S. Post Office. This pit does not operate for only 2 or 3 weeks like the one in Bass Lake does. This one is going to operate many more weeks than that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else out there would like to speak in opposition? Anybody have their hand up? Okay, all right. With no more, I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-026.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-026. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are now out of public hearing.
This is the discussion action for the town of Hayward and town of Lenroot, Todd's Ready Mix Concrete LLC. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this permit is for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-016 for the location of a mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher, asphalt plant, and ready mix concrete plant. As part of the staff report, we discussed some of those hours of operation. Certainly this one is a little bit, I guess, different and unique than the other two, and that we've heard from the applicant that they would limit crushing from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, excluding Sundays, but wanted to keep the plant and be at the ready mix plant operational. So I think we really need to hammer down those hours as part of any motions that are made here. That is all.
With the ready mix plant, you're talking about? Okay. All right, committee.
Limit any business hours anyway?
Can I ask a question before?
Yes, you can.
Hey, Jay, did the town, when they voted, they discussed the hours of the operating plant, exclusive of the crushing, but just the operation of the plant itself? Was there any mention of hours on that?
So the only changes, and this is from both town of Lenroot and town of Hayward, they had just changed the crushing hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. They don't make any reference of the plant, and they don't make any reference to the days of the week as far as that operation. So as a layman, I would read that the town and both the towns have the same hours of operation that were as part of their plan, but limiting crushing hours from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I would read that as 7 days a week because they didn't otherwise specify. Now, we did make changes to the other two. That would be 6 to 6 Monday through Saturday. That would be for plant operation and crushing hours. And I don't know do you guys operate the ready mix plant on Sundays? Okay. So we could be consistent with the other ones and be at 6 to 6 Monday through Saturday. And that would include hours of operation, crushing, and then if we wanted to make a change to the hours of operation for the plant.
Right. So is there any record in the CUP from 2018 or previous ones that that listed hours of operation for the plant itself, because as discussed, they sometimes have to get in and out of there, you know, at different hours. They're not operating the crusher, but they still have to.
Mr. Chairman, I got a question as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Schuman.
Mr. Thompson, what hours do you need to run the ready mix plant? I know I know we kind of decided on the rock crusher, but now we want to talk about the plant.
Okay, so I haven't currently had any hours restrictions on the ready mix plant itself. And that's all I was asking for was clarification. And I did talk to both townships about that exact same thing. And they were in agreements with me on that the crusher was the main noise source. So we restricted that, but letting the plant run continuously if need be.
Jay, is that the recommendation from the staff report that the hours stay the same for the plant and the rock crusher? Or they vary?
In my staff report, I have them as what they were as part of the 2018 approved conditions, which is plan of operation, including normal hours of operation for crushing and the plant was 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days per week. So I think we could, keep with those same hours of operation, but exclude crushing from 6 to 6 days a week, which would be consistent with the other pits. So again, I mean, there's a couple changes here and there. Both of the towns this time said 6 to 6 for crushing, but they did have it as 7 days a week. Where our other two now are 6 to 6 days a week.
Mr. Thompson, I have a question.
Yep.
In this plant, you've got 3 operations. You've got the crushing, you've got the ready mix, and then the asphalt?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And the asphalt is intermittent.
Right.
It's only been a few times over the last 10 years.
Right.
But the ready mix plant is there permanently.
Okay.
And we have 10 people that work there. Yep.
Right, so we would need to, I'd suggest, place some hours on all 3 of those operations.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ready mix plant, how noisy is that? I guess I've never really listened to one.
The backup alarms are a noise, and then just the revved up truck being loaded. The plant itself really doesn't hardly make any noise. It's in a building, so it's not a huge amount of noise there. But we have trucks with backup alarms, and we have the truck that's being loaded is revved up. It faces away from the housing. It's not terrible, and like I say, that's not usually been an issue.
Stacy, go ahead.
I'm just wondering why we would even be considering affecting their hours of operation. We don't control LP or Arcolin. It's not our job to facilitate hours of operation. It's our job to direct the CUP at the crushing. That's the issue at hand. So I don't think that's a slippery slope if we start saying your hours of operation have to be this. That's not fair. That's my comment.
I have one more comment,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
Schuman.
Mr. Thompson, the hours of operation are concerning to me because you're a lot closer to some homes there to the south. I think it's like
Okay.
350 feet, I think I read, Jay reported. Where the other
Correct, from the
homes
pit
are.
entrance, yep.
Yeah, so that is concerning to me, and there are objection letters to that, so just so you're aware.
Sure. Now, just, Dennis did mention that he was okay with the plant running longer hours, just to clarify that. So I appreciate that.
Well, if we do approve this, we need to keep the hours the same as the rest of them.
For the crush.
That's for the crushing.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
But if you're ever been in need of ready mix, then you want to have it ready. That's the name, ready
Ready
mix.
mix,
Okay.
yeah, I understand that part of it. Okay,
So where are we on hours of operation with the ready mix plant and the asphalt plant?
So like I said, at this point, no restrictions is what we talked about at the town level. As far as that goes, and it's very rare that it would run terribly over that, but asking for to have that ability if we need to.
And the asphalt plant hasn't been running, what?
It's been a few years since we've been in there with the asphalt plant. And like I say, probably only a couple times in the last 10. And it's very, project-based, local project. Try to keep the trucks off of the surrounding roads to come out of a local pit. Helps all that.
Okay. Ms. Pettit, you got any questions?
No, I don't. I have a comment. I'm on the same thought path as Stacy, that it's a very slippery slope. You're going to have people where they're going to say the crusher's in there and it's making noise and it's not there. Who's, then you're setting up where who goes and checks the hours of these operations. And also, again, we're not in the job to regulate their hours. They can't tell us what time we can open the county building and shut it. We are not in the business of setting hours for people, but we know that there's a window of noise for noise. So I understand that. Outside of that, unfortunately, we can't set their hours and say, this is what we're going to do. If it's outside of the noise level, I guess, variance, I understand that, but it's a very slippery slope here, guys.
Go ahead, Mr. Betcher.
I'd like to make a motion to approve CUP 21-026 with limited hours for crushing of 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and on Sundays by exception of emergency only, but no other restrictions on time.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Mr. Paulson to approve CUP number 21-026. Any more discussion? If none, roll call, Kathy.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Bruce Paulson.
Yes.
Dawn Pettit.
No,
Jesse Betcher.
Yes.
Tweed Schuman.
Yes.
4-1 in favor.
Okay.
Yes.
Finding of facts, it would be compatible with the surrounding uses in the area, and it would not destroy prime agricultural lands.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, this is a public hearing, the town of Coudray, conditional use permit number 21-027, owner Donald Winter, part of the northeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter, including outlot number CSM number 7436, section 10, township 38 north, range 8 west, parcel 004-838-103-103, 40.62 total acres, zoned agricultural 1. This permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-017 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher and asphalt plant. This conditional use permit was originally approved on April 24th of 1992, most recently renewed October 19th, 2018. As part of the staff report, again, this is for the 5-year renewal. The current pit operation area is approximately 21 acres. Expansion will progress to the north, south, and west. The current permitted area totals are 35 acres. The surrounding use is forestry, agricultural, and light residential. The nearest house is approximately 775 feet away from the current active pit area. However, expansion may be coming closer to this nearby residence, but all crushing operations must be a minimum of 1,000 feet away. The zoning department has not received any complaints on file for this site, but during the last renewal, there were 3 adjacent property owners with objections to the pit operation because of noise and health concern. Financial assurance was received. Again, this is an update to the financial assurance. We have received financial assurance in the amount of $31,500 in the form of a bond. The current hours of operation, crushing hours, and asphalt plant hours are read as 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Typical operation is from March to November, but if weather permits, projects may come up in December or February. Also, as part of the staff report, maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and all other town, county, state, federal, local laws are followed by action of the town board. Motion was approved. James Bassett, chairman, Phil Miles, supervisor, Jeffrey Honey, supervisor. No additional comments. Signed, Charlie Werner, town clerk. There were 6 opinion letters sent out. 1 was returned with no objections. I have no objections to this. Gary Kapmeyer. That is all.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-027.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Paulson to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-027. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is the applicant there?
Surprise. Candy Anderson with Milestone Materials, Monarch Paving. Do you want me to do my address every time? Should I?
Well, yeah, you should.
Okay,
yes.
768 US Highway 8, Amory, Wisconsin, 54001. This is just a renewal. We are not asking for any changes to our existing permit. This pit is typically used specifically for Sawyer County highway work. We were in, since the last permit term, we have not crushed, but we have been in with a portable asphalt plant twice. One, each time I think was for about 3 weeks for 2 different Sawyer County highway projects. It's a standard gravel pit, no changes proposed.
Okay. Any questions? Ms. Pettit? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Betcher.
Yeah, just on the, so it's currently zoned as agriculture 1, where all the others are zoned as forestry 1. Does that matter? Is that allowed there, Jay?
It is, yeah. It would both be as a part of a conditional use permit process, be it in the agricultural zone district or in the forestry zone district.
Okay. And did you mention if there's been any complaints reported over the asphalt plant specifically over the past several years?
There hasn't, no complaints. Just last time for the renewal, there were 3 lengthy letters of opposition for it. But again, this time when we sent out the 6, we only received the 1 with no complaint or no objection.
Chairman, I got one question, I guess. Ms. Anderson, right?
Yes.
Are the hours of operation gonna work, what we've been consistent with so far today?
We would like to keep our existing hours that we have at the site, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. We haven't had any issues at that site with those hours in the past.
Thank you.
That was my question too.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody out there that wants to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone out there that wants to speak in opposition of this CUP?
I have a hand raised. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Linda Zilmer, 902 Holly Hill Lane, Birchwood, Wisconsin, Edgewater property owner. I'm not speaking either in favor or against any of these non-metallic mining renewals, but these are conditional use permits, which means the zoning committee has the authority to place conditions on it, and operations plans, which include hours of operation, are a condition, and it's part of balancing the rights of the mine operators with the neighboring properties. And so it really concerns me that maybe it's just lack of training, but some of the discussion I've heard, and that I believe hours of operation belong in the operation plan and should be approved by the committee. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please do.
I think at this committee, we've talked about the statutory restrictions set forth in 5969 sub 5E as it relates to conditional use permits. We've
Mr.
talked
Chairman,
about
I
that
can't
several times.
hear,
Is that better?
thank you.
Yep. Briefly recapping, at this committee, we have talked about the statutory restrictions set forth in 5969 sub 5E relating to conditional use permits and your statutory framework that you must act in. Again, we've talked about that several times. I have no doubt that this committee is well-trained and also can spot issues. So if there are questions, you ask them. And that's why I think this committee does a tremendous job. With respect to the specific question of hours of operation, yes, within the context of a particular proposal, you may look at hours of operation if that is pertaining to the proposed use. And again, we look to the context set forth in the statutes and whether there is substantial evidence and there is a justification as measured by data if possible. And that is how the determination of points like hours of operation are made.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else out there wants to speak in favor of the CUP? If not, anyone out there want to speak in opposition of the CUP? If none, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-027.
Motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-027. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Town of Coudray, conditional use permit number 21-027. Legal description is previously read into record. Again, this permit will be for a 5-year renewal of CUP 18-017 for the location operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher and asphalt plant. As previously read into record, the staff report, the hours of operation, right now, normal hours of operation, crushing and plant operation are 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That is all.
Okay. Ready?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the conditional use permit application 2127.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Paulson and a second by Mr. Betcher to approve CUP number 21-027. Any more discussion? If not,
Just may I make a comment?
Yes.
I neglected to say the motion should include the conditions as outlined in the staff report.
get it, Kathy?
Yes.
Okay. All right, if there's no more discussion, can we do roll call, Kathy, please?
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
All in favor. Okay.
Okay.
Findings of fact.
Not be damaging to the rights of others nor property values.
Get that, Kath?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
Moving on, this is a public hearing, the Town of Round Lake, conditional use permit number 21-028, owner Matthew Construction, part of the northwest one quarter, the northeast one quarter, and part of the southwest one quarter, the northeast one quarter, all in section 2, Township 41 North, Range 7 West, parcel 0247410212101 and 1301. This is 56.46 total acres, zoned forestry 1. Permit is desired for the 5-year renewal of conditional use permit number 18-020 for the location and operation of a non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher. The CUP was originally approved on March 20th, 2001, and most recently renewed October 19th of 2018. As part of the staff report, again, this is a property containing 56.46 total acres with the current operation area of approximately 19 acres. Expansion will progress to the north. The current permitted total acres is the entire 56.46. The surrounding use is forestry, commercial, and light residential. The nearest house is approximately 700 feet away from the current pit entrance, with operation area approximately 1,200 feet away. Expansion will not be coming any close to the nearby residents, and all crushing and plant operations must be a minimum of 1,000 feet away. The zoning department has not received any recent or new complaints on site for this file. Financial assurance has been received in the form of a bond. I believe this one is still correct, though, for $33,000. The normal hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Crushing hours are the same for 45 days per year. Typical operation would be from March to November, but if weather permits, projects may come up in December and February. That would be part of potential conditions, is to maintain compliance with the plan of operations, including those hours as just read. Also to maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with the Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and that all other town, county, state, federal, local laws are followed. By motion of the town board, action was approved. Rolf Hanson, Chairman, Virginia Chayback, Supervisor, Sharon Hack, Supervisor, Kate Wilson, Supervisor, Sandra Shara, Supervisor. With comments, approved with hours of operation to remain the same as currently permitted. That's normal operations of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, crushing hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 45 days per year. That is signed Kathy McCoy, Town Clerk. There were 7 opinion letters sent out, 2 were returned with no objections, 1 with objections. I have no objections, subject to operating conditions remain the same, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, with crushing of 45 days per year. That's signed Christopher Gerhardt for Alabama LLC. I have no objections to this. I have objections to this. It's all about the money. They don't care about us. They don't even live here. More noise, dirt, etc. Let's keep the Northwoods quiet and clean. Todd Lachuda. I have no objections to this if there is no increase to the current hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and no increase to the currently allowed 45 crushing days per year. Sarah Delaney. That is all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-028.
Motion.
Second.
We have motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Paulson to go into public hearing on 21-028. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are now in public hearing. You're up.
Candy Anderson with Monarch Paving Milestone Materials, 768 US Highway 8, Amory, Wisconsin, 54001. And as read in the staff report and the town, we met with them last night. Plan Commission was Wednesday night and the board was last night. We aren't proposing any changes. Hours would stay the same. Those were the hours assigned to the gravel pit in 2001 when we got our first conditional use permit for that site. Our 2 main customers for that are the town of Round Lake and Spider Lake. Hours work good there.
And
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman,
Mr.
yeah, Ms. Anderson, you can get all that done within 45 days?
It's very hard to do the 45 days, but we've learned to live with it. It just allows us to not be able to utilize the pit as much and sell as much. So we take it from Merotech pit then typically. Well, we don't have enough, but we can do the 45 days. We don't want to change it.
Yeah, because that's what the town approved, right?
Yes,
To
and
stay
that's what
with
the
the-
neighbors want, and we've been doing it that way since 2001.
Any questions, Ms. Pettit?
Shook her head.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone out there that would like to speak in favor of this CUP? Anyone out there like to speak in opposition of this CUP? Mike, any hands, anybody? Huh? Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Martin Hanson, 11078N Robin Lane, Hayward, Wisconsin. I wish to speak in favor. Appreciate the applicant's consideration. However, I make one recommendation that somehow the 45-day restriction be monitored, perhaps by having the applicant submit a report monthly on how many days of that 45 have been used. I'm concerned about the enforcement of that 45-day restriction. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else? Sir, come up, state your name and your address, please.
Hi, Patrick Delaney. Which address are we at? 10871 Nelson Road. In the town of Spider Lake, but we're also neighbors with this pit. I'm not opposing. I'm actually in favor, but I'm surprised that the discussion's coming up about the 45 days. That's why I came up here. Candy Anderson, who represents Matthew, probably has a much better history than I, but I have a box of materials from the past where I understand this was extremely heavily discussed and negotiated. I don't know if it was 2001 or 2012 or something. So I want you to know that the 45 days was very heavily discussed and negotiated in the past. So Tweed, you brought up 45 days. Can they do it? I just want you to know that the neighbors, the discussion is 45 days, not more. And if you're going to change that, there's been a long history here. Okay, and if Matthew's okay with it, I think the community is okay with it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? If not, need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-028.
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Paulson to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-028. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are out of public hearing.
Discussion action, the town around Lake conditional use permit number 21-028, owner Matthew Construction Company. Legal description is previously read into record. This conditional use permit is the 5-year renewal for CUP 18-020 for a non-metallic mineral extraction operation, including rock crusher. Again, as part of the staff request and from what we've heard from other individuals, part of the conditions would be to maintain the compliance with the plan of operation, including the normal hours of operation of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, crushing hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 45 days per year.
Okay, thanks, Jay. All right, need a motion. No, I don't. We're in discussion, right?
We are.
Turn it over to the committee.
Yeah, just a comment on the 45 days. So it sounds like it's a pretty good compromise, meaning neither party's super happy with it. Matthew's okay with it, they can get by, and the residents are okay with it, they can tolerate it. My question is on the monitoring of those 45 days, which was brought up. Are you guys just self-report on that, or is there any system in place to verify that it is no more than 45 days?
The 45 days is just for the crushing. So what we do is we bring the crusher in for 45 days and then we leave. And so it's, I think we've crushed in there once since, yeah, in the last 4 years. So it's not a pit that we're going into every year. And that is because the majority of it is for township work. So we'll go in, crush for our 45 days, put up Round Lakes piles and Spider Lakes piles and get out.
Okay.
I'll make a motion then, Mr. Chairman, that we approve CUP number 21-028, reaffirming the staff report conditions, including the hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and for a length of 45 days only.
Okay, Mr. Betcher?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Mr. Betcher to approve CUP number 21-028. Any more discussion?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
if we can clarify that, that restrictions on times and in the number of days was for the crushing only, not the general operation of the pit.
Yes.
Schuman, you got more comment?
Nope, I'm sorry. No.
Ms. Pettit?
I
you got
agree.
Any comment? Okay. If no more discussion, roll call, Kathy, please.
Don Pettit,
Yes.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz.
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
all in favor.
Findings of facts that would not be damaging to the rights of others or property values.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing in the town of Round Lake, conditional use permit number 21-029. Owner Merotech Pit LLC and Diane Dennis, the southwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, part of the northeast one quarter, the southwest one quarter, the northwest one quarter, the southwest one quarter, and part of the southwest one quarter of the southwest one quarter. All in section 1, township 41 north, range 8 west, parcel 024-841-01-3301, 3101, 3201, and 3404. Total of 154.44 total acres zoned forestry 1. Permit is desired for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-018 for the location operation of non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher and asphalt plant. The CUP was originally approved back in June 16th, 1989, and most recently renewed on October 19th, 2018. As part of the staff report, again, this would be for the 5-year renewal of CUP 18-018, again, including a rock crusher and asphalt plant. Property is approximately 154.44 total acres with the current operation area of 48 acres. Expansion will progress to the north. The current permitted area is the entire area 154.44. The surrounding use is forestry, agricultural, and light residential. The nearest house is approximately 575 feet away from the current pit entrance across Highway 77, with the nearest operation area of approximately 775 feet. Expansion would not be coming any closer to this nearby residence, and all crushing and plant operations must be a minimum of 1,000 feet away. The zoning department has not received any complaints for this site, but earlier this year, there was a new proposed pit in the similar area where there were a multitude of individuals that came to that public hearing in objection. The new proposed pit was 2 40-acre parcels on the other side of the highway from where this CUP pit renewal is being requested. Financial assurance has been received in the form of a bond. That financial assurance amount listed in my staff report has been updated, and now the bond amount is $82,500, which is received and is on record with the Sawyer County Clerk's Office. The normal hours of operation are 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Crushing hours, which were amended in 2018, are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with allowance to extend crushing hours to 9 p.m. if special demand is warranted. The asphalt plant hours are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with maintenance allowed 1 hour before startup and 1 hour after shutdown. Typical operation is from March to November, but if weather permits, projects may come up in December through February. As part of other conditions for approval as listed in the staff report would be to maintain compliance with NR 135, maintain compliance with the plan of operations as the hours as just read, maintain compliance with Department of Natural Resources, Chapter 30, and all other county, state, federal, local laws are applied. As part of the town's decision, motion was approved. Ralph Hansen, Chairman, Virginia Chaybeck, Supervisor, Sharon Hack, Supervisor, Kay Wilson, Supervisor, Sanja Shara, Supervisor. Okay. Motion was approved with the following hours of operation: that normal hours are 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The crushing hours to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, with the allowance to extend the crushing hours until 9 p.m. if special demands warrant. Asphalt plant and hot mix hours to be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with maintenance allowed 1 hour before startup and 1 hour after shutdown. There'll be no blasting. Maintenance is allowed 1 hour before startup and 1 hour after shutdown, and that additional trees are planted on the berm. Kathy McCoy, Town Clerk. There were 7 opinion letters sent out to property owners within 300 feet. All 3 of those were returned with no objections. I have no objections to this. Jeffrey Greschel. I have no objections. This is from the Sawyer County Highway Commissioner. Dear Zoning Department, I'm writing this letter on behalf of the Sawyer County Highway Department in regards to the conditional use permit for the milestone materials at Merotech Pit. The Sawyer County Highway Department urges the committee to renew this conditional use permit for this pit. This pit is our sole source for asphalt in Sawyer County. This year alone, we have hauled approximately 20,000 tons of asphalt from the Merotech Pit. I appreciate your consideration on this matter. Sincerely, Gary Gedhart, Sawyer County Highway Commissioner. I have no objections to this. David Arnett. Sorry. I do have several other letters that we received, those being from outside of the 300 feet that are required for state statutes. Would you like me to read those into record? I do believe we had forwarded the majority of those on to the committee members, but I did receive another one here this morning as well.
I read them. Did you guys read them? I read all of them except for the one he's got now. Yeah. Maybe you could read that one, Jake?
We asked about Liddell. Is it okay to do this?
If you received the public comments in your packet, and you've read them, were they made available to the public as well? Because they were in the packets?
Nope. Nope. These were received via email to our office. And again, these would be from individuals outside of 300 feet, which is required by state statutes to be read into record at a public hearing process. So no, these letters are not available to the public unless requested.
Right. And I think that, as part of simply because someone lives outside of the 400 feet radius, certainly they're still allowed to make public comments. That would be within, the public hearing itself. And I think that even though the committee members received them, I think they still need to be read into record.
Okay.
Are they extensive?
It's fine. I'll read them.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right, so there are several. I'll just read through these. Take your notes as I'm reading them then. This is to the Sawyer County Zoning Committee. My name is Cindy Bujold. I'm writing to express my deep concern regarding the hot mix and asphalt plant that operates at the Merotech Pit on Highway 77 east of the town of Hayward. The asphalt plant permits operation by Monarch is up to its 5-year renewal. That'll be heard at the town of Brown Lake on Thursday, October 14th, followed by the Sawyer County Zoning Committee on October 15th. Our entire neighborhood, which holds well over 170 plus homes, has to endure the emissions which is expelled by the plant. The plant operates for 12 hours, 6 days per week for 6 months of the year. It is our understanding that DNR regulates and checks emissions on an annual basis. It appears that Monarch is within its EPA limits. In addition, Monarch endures to be a good neighbor by planting seedlings on the perimeter of the property that borders Highway 77. All that being said, we still endure a tremendous amount of pollution that spills into our neighborhood. We must close up our windows when the wind is in the wrong direction from the west, which is the prevailing winds in the summertime for the weather, but dread what hits us for the entire summer. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. We also have to clean black soot off all our outdoor furniture and decks. We crave summertime for the weather, but dread that it hits us for the entire summer. We implore the town of Round Lake, Sawyer County Zoning Committee, look to relocate that hot mix plant to one of many of their other pits within Sawyer County that has far less residential impacts. There's another pit east of their current location on Highway 77 near Dow's Corner, 77 and Upper A. Monarch currently has been on a lease agreement at that location. Another potential option is to discuss with Thompson Pit located off of Highway 63 near the LP plant and the recycling center for Johnson Timber. This is definitely an industrial area with with few homes. Please consider health impacts, loss of quality of life that we endure with the asphalt plant in our neighborhood. Cindy Bejourd. We are writing to express our concerns regarding the asphalt plant in the gravel pit on Highway 77. We have been plagued with horrible smoke and tar residue on everything outside of our home. Patio furniture has been blackened with soot and a sticky tar residue, even down on the lake boat canopy. It takes a lot of scrubbing to clean this mess on a weekly basis, especially with west and northwest winds. This has really gotten worse in the last 2 years. Either the filter system isn't working at the plant or something else has changed in the mix. We realize that the asphalt plant is needed in Sawyer County. We're asking is that the plant be moved to one of their 5 other pits that are more isolated from homes and lakes, Upper Twin, Round Lake. We live at Hildreth Road, just 2 to 3 miles from the pit. There are more than 160 residential homes, lakes, and cottages. We also do clean boats, clean waters, boat inspections at the Black Iron Launch. We have noticed on numerous times actual oil and tar puddles when smoke tar clouds from the winds being from the west and northwest blow right to the landing and bog. Thank you for letting us express our concerns. Respectfully, Jib and Jean Pertel. Writing to request at Hildreth Road regarding the gravel pit permit renewal requested by Matthew. Having a gravel pit so close to homes affects quality of life in many ways. Some areas of concern include air quality, smell of tar, rock crushing all summer this year instead of just being in the spring, air braking for transport trucks, smog on the Tiger Cat lakes, and this year the crushing and asphalt from old roads brought in from far and wide. For these reasons, and since Matthew owns several asphalt locations, the area residents are requesting that Matthew moves their asphalt operation to a location which disrupts the lives of fewer or maybe no residents. We appreciate your time in this consideration. Maribeth Gray. We are the owners of property 12049 Hildreth Road. We've been here for 21 years. We've become 50% residents at this property and are greatly distressed by the asphalt hot mix plant located less than 1 mile from our home. The kind of operation has no business being in close proximity to this lovely resort residential area, an area that brings a myriad of tourists and homeowner property taxpayers to the area of Round Lake and Tiger Cat Flowage and beyond. We have very real concerns related to the continued operation of this plant near our residents, odor, dust, fumes, and decreased property values. Since we are now at the residence more than just weekends, we can attest to the increased noxious fumes from the current gravel pit. Crushing rock is not a quiet process. We have to put up with the increased noise over the past couple of years, including weekends and early mornings. I understand that we need gravel, and this gravel pit has been here for a long time, even before we bought our property. I'm not contesting the pit. What I am contesting is the asphalt plant. I have a big problem with the more recent addition of the asphalt plant. The stench of cooking tar makes your throat burn and your eyes water. It is air pollution worse than the Twin Cities. I'm very concerned for our health of our family and neighborhood. Lung cancer is already the #1 cause of death by decease in this country. I don't think anyone should be subject to that kind of known pollutant. In fact, the US CDC considers it a carcinogen. That bituminous are classified as a pyrolysis product of organic material and are applied hot. Depending on the temperature used, there are emissions of various insecticides of polysemitic aromatic hydrocarbons, some which are carcinogens. Also, a decrease in property values is also a true reality. A study done by Auburn University showed that statistical correlation between property distance from a gravel pit and property sale prices. Properties adjacent to a gravel pit experience up to a 30% reduction in sale price. Property values within 1 mile are reduced by 14.5%, 2 miles 8.9%, and even at 3 miles, property values have dropped nearly 5%. I would estimate that the current property values within the 3 mile radius of this possible pit to be $50 million. This would mean a collective decrease at a minimum of $2.5 million. This is a heavy burden to place on a resort community. This is just an active pit. This is just for the active pit, not the asphalt plant. We respectfully ask you to please make the neighbors take on double the burden of not only a very active gravel pit. Best regards, Leanne Breckenridge and Kelly Owen. I'd like to thank, no, we didn't read that one. I want to thank you for listening to my concerns about the hot mix asphalt plant operating at Morotech Pit off of Highway 77, town of Round Lake. I understand the pit is up for 5-year renewal. My understanding is the pit allows the asphalt plant to be operated from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week from May through November. I also understand that this is a movable plant, albeit it would be an expensive move, but doable. I understand the need for asphalt. I have an asphalt driveway and I do appreciate it. What I can't understand is why the asphalt plant is allowed to operate so close to residential areas and lakes. Just for one moment, think about your own home. Imagine a beautiful 72-degree day. Of course, you want to open your windows and let the fresh air and being in the Northwoods into your home, but at last, the strong smell of fresh asphalt permeates everything. The stench is so bad, you have to close your house and run air conditioning so as to be able to breathe. This is what our neighborhood has to contend with day in and day out. Since the prevailing winds are from the west and north, almost 170 homes are downwind of the plant and contend with the odor. If this permit is for a 5-year renewal, the asphalt plant is not permitted. Why could it not be moved to another location where it would not affect so many lives? Jane Bidwell. And then I have one more here. This would be from Martin Hansen, looking at specific elements to their plan of operation. In section 5 of their plan of operation, recommend that all operations be restricted to Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. with the allowance of maintenance 1 hour pre and 1 hour post operation. This would be consistent with the conditional use permit application 21-028. The special demand warrants need to be clarified. Recommend that the applicant be required to request special demand warrants in writing to the county or town prior to commencing operations outside of the permitted hours of operation. This has to be for emergency uses only. Section 6 is titled Days of the Week, but the text deals with months. Note there is no real restriction here. Operations are permitted all 12 months of the year if weather permits. Is sufficiently vague to allow operations in nearly all weather conditions. If there is monthly restrictions, it should be stated. 45-day limit needs to be defined. Is there any operation or duration counted as days? This might be for the last one, but is there any duration counted as days, or is an 8-hour day, or is it a 10-hour day? Who is monitoring the number of days used? Recommend that the applicant submit a report to the county or to the town detailing the number of days used. I do believe this one was for the last one. Yep, and he called in and expressed his concern. So disregard the last one I read from Martin Hansen. That is all.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-029.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Schuman and a second by Ms. Pettit to go into public hearing on CUP number 21-029. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are now in public hearing. You know the routine pretty
I
good.
do. 25 years, I'm finally getting her down. Candy Anderson with Milestone Materials and Monarch Paving, 768. Okay, I got the okay. And I just would like to take a minute. I have brought some friends today that you've probably seen sitting with me. I brought them specifically for this conditional use permit renewal because we are aware of the concerns, and the people that I brought with me are going to be here to help me answer a lot of questions that you might have. First of all, Caitlin Filkins, she is our compliance specialist, and you'll also see her name on a lot of the permit applications. She joined us about 3 years ago, and she and I are a team making sure our permits are complied with and filling out the applications. I have Tara Wetzel. She's Vice President of Matthew Construction, in charge of our environmental permits and compliance. And she'll be able to help answer any questions you might have about the asphalt plant. I have Brandon Lendy today. He's our area manager for the crushers and for the pits in this area. You are still here. Brent Schultz, he's our division manager and vice president for Monarch Paving. I thought the best thing to do was maybe give you all a history, and I did this for the Round Lake Plan Commission and the town board about the conditional use permit history at the Murrow Tech Pit. I did some aerial photo research, and the best I could tell is that pit was opened sometime in the 1960s. Monarch Paving and Milestone Materials' first conditional use permit for this site was in 1989 for the crusher and the asphalt plant. And at that time, there were no conditions put on the pit at all. And then back in 2000, we were assigned general hours for the pit of 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And so we went from 2000, when those were assigned, up until our 2012 renewal. And then there were more people, more residents moving in across the road and next door to us, and hours were beginning to become a concern. So we revised the hours, I should say the committee revised the hours back then to 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. for general hours. And the asphalt plant was assigned hours 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. The crusher was also assigned hours 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So they had the same hours back then. That was with our 2012 renewal. And then again in 2015, we had more residents come with concerns that had moved into the area. And at that committee meeting, we voluntarily reduced our crushing hours again, because the crusher had seemed to be the biggest concern at that time. And those hours then were changed to 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Asphalt plant stayed the same. And then in 2016, there was a lot of crushing going on, and I can't remember, I think it was for the Highway 77 project. And the neighborhood became very concerned with some of the operators were operating very long hours. And so we ended up going to a town board meeting to talk about it, because one of the things that became evident was that the neighborhood was not being communicated with. You know, they wanted to know, when are you coming in with the crusher, how long, and you know, how long are we going to put up with this? And the same with the asphalt plant. And this wasn't just us, there's 4 gravel pits, I think, in the area. So we went to the town board and we recognized the fact that we needed to do a better job of communicating. So what we agreed with the board in 2016 was that in the spring, before we start, we would send the clerk an email with when we thought we were going to start up the asphalt plant. And the last few years, we just had typical work. There hasn't been any big projects, but if we were to have a big project, to let her know so she can put it on the town's website. And the same with the crushing. So we let her know when we're going to be moving in with a crusher, for about how long, and also if we're going to be using the hours of 7 to 7 or the 7 to 9, which we haven't used since it was put on the last permit in 2018. And that has worked well. And I had asked last night at the town board if the other operators were doing that also, and we're the only ones. I thought I'd remembered that everybody was supposed to do it, but we've continued to do that notification. And then in December of 2016, we took more noise mitigation and we built a berm on Highway 77. And then in June of 2017, we planted trees on the berm. And we did 170 conifers and 170 white spruce and 63 big white spruce and white pine. But now I was out there yesterday and took a look at those, and they need some replacing. So we're gonna get out there and do some replacement of those trees. But the berm looks good. It's very well established. So then in 2018, when we went back for our renewal, we agreed with the town board and then brought it forth to the committee to the hours that we currently have today, which is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with the allowance of 7 to 9 if special conditions warrant. And back then, the special conditions, we asked if we could keep the 9 o'clock for special conditions. And what those what we meant by that was like an emergency, like the flooding that happened up north. We had a lot of problems trying to get emergency material to quickly repair roads that needed to be repaired right away because of hours of operation restrictions on a lot of pits. And so we asked, could we keep the 9? Hopefully we never have to use it, but just in case something were to happen. Yes, Tweed.
Ms. Anderson, do the hours of operation include the rock crusher and the asphalt plant?
The asphalt plant has separate hours. And I believe that was stated in the town. Asphalt hours are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
Monday through Saturday.
With maintenance allowed 1 hour before and 1 hour after. So the 7 to 7 was for the crusher.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's a little bit about the history of the pit.
Thank
You bet.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions. Go ahead. So this pit's been in existence longer than 23 years. You've owned it for 23 years or something like that.
We have a lease on the
32.
pit, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and what we've been trying to do is to continue trying to find ways to coexist with the neighborhood that's growing around us.
Right.
It's a matter of kind of a double-edged sword. We have the asphalt plant that's supplying material for Sawyer County and to build the homes. And then we're doing everything we can, but we know there's always room for improvement. We've met with several of the neighbors at the town board last night, and we've got some good discussions going where I think we can continue to work together.
Okay, so the asphalt plant's been there for a number of years.
Yes, it's
prior to a lot of these residents moving in.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the opposition has been regarding the asphalt plant. And I'm wondering if yourself or maybe Tara could maybe explain some of the reasons for that sticky substance that's been reported 2 to 3 miles away from the asphalt plant, just for clarification.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, Tara would be glad to do that.
Have a good day, guys.
Good morning. Thanks for hearing our comments today. My name is Tara Wetzel, Matthew Construction, 920 10th Avenue North, Onalaska, Wisconsin. And in particular, I'm going to address the comments about the sticky tar substance that people have been reporting some miles away on their residents' homes and other things. It's not the first time that someone has made an accusation that a substance that looks a lot like sticky tar is the cause of an asphalt plant. So we had an opportunity a couple years ago to partner with a neighbor who had that concern. They allowed us on our property to go out and do some testing on that substance. We did some wipe samples, and what that does is it collects it on a media, and then we send that into a lab for analysis. And what those results came back with was a biological composition. Primarily, it was a mold component. So something that grows on the side of a house, it grows on wood, it goes on vinyl, it grows on everything. And when you try and wipe it off, it does have that sticky sort of tarry-like thing. You kind of need a little bit of a solvent to get it off. We, have communicated that to the neighbors. It happens regardless if you're near an asphalt plant or if you're not. And so it's something that, is prevalent in some areas versus others, heavier some years versus other years. So that's kind of addresses that comment. The other thing to reinforce that is, we have to comply with our air emission permits. And part of that is to actually perform stack tests. So we actually insert filters into the stack. And these are white filters that go in there, and we leave those in there for a period of time. And, when those filters come out, I think it would be logical that if there was some sticky tar substance, you're going to see that deposited on there. And we're not seeing that. We know that because we analyze the composition of anything we test, and it's not a sticky tar substance. What we're primarily analyzing and seeing on that is, anything that would be coming from the plant is combustion gases, because we are a large industrial burner to dry the aggregate, and then the particulate, which is filtered out in the bag house, which is attached to the asphalt plant.
So you're monitored by the DNR, your air quality is monitored by the DNR?
Correct. So the US EPA is the authority which moves that authority into the Wisconsin DNR, and we maintain air permits for an asphalt plant. And as part of that air permit, we have a multitude of monitoring we have to do on a regular basis, testing we do on a regular basis. We report back to the state. So they're aware of, various things that we're monitoring within the asphalt plant.
Okay. Any more questions for him? Anyone you would like to speak? No, you don't have to, I mean. Okay, thought I'd ask. All right, is there anyone out there that's want to speak in favor of this CUP? Is there anyone you want to speak in favor or opposition?
Actually, it's just a general statement.
Okay, come on. You have 3 minutes, man.
My name is Jenny Chabek, and I'm on the town board of Round Lake, and we heard all of this discussion last night. I'm only here to represent myself, though I want to be clear on that. I'm not representing the board. This particular pit is a delicate subject just because there are so many people in this neighborhood that are very concerned, and they're very concerned for good reason, because they read it up about all these health concerns about asphalt plants. But I cannot imagine a better team of people to be working with on this Matthew and Milestone than these folks. They are doing everything they can to try and help reassure our folks in the town. And that includes, I had asked that this black substance be tested specifically from one of our residents, and Matthew has agreed to do that. So they're gonna coordinate with the town board, with the residents, to do some testing when they have an occurrence of that stuff to share with Matthew. In general, this is just gonna get harder. And I know it's a problem that the entire county should be aware of as our residential areas get larger and encroaching more and more on these pits, that it's gonna become more and more difficult to try and get this stuff through. And I feel like now we're to a point where they're doing everything they can. And we're gonna run out of, the bag of tricks. Hopefully the technology will continue to improve and we can have this continual, improvement. They've also agreed to meet with our town on a regular basis as needed between now and the 5 years. So we're not gonna wait for another 5 years before we have this discussion again with our residents.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anyone else out there want to speak in opposition? Yes, sir.
General comment?
Yep.
I think I remembered my address now. Patrick Delaney, 10871 Nelson Road, town of Spider Lake, land in town of Round Lake. I want to echo Ginny's comments, having attended the Round Lake meeting, that I think that for a company that is effectively a monopoly, if not an oligopoly, they don't have to do it. Matthew does not have to do what they're doing. They're doing a fantastic job for our communities. They know it's the right thing to do, so they're doing that. And it is a very complex problem that's not going to go away. Hopefully, with the 5-year renewal, they and all of the community hopes that the technology will improve so that the maybe we can deal with the sound and maybe deal better with the odor. But I wanted to make a comment. The general comment was, there was a comment made earlier, and one of the callers discussed it, as well as your legal counsel, about the slippery slope. And I just wanted a clarification. There was a discussion about what your role was as it related to controlling businesses. And I do think the clarification is, as it relates to sound and odor, that I want to mention to Ms. Pettit, who was, I think, my commissioner, that odor is an issue there. I think you do, we're talking about all the pits, and I think in the county. And in some of the other pits, they operate, there is an operation for asphalt. And I do think that in 5 years, when you reconsider this, you really ought to consider the hours of operation for the asphalt pits because of the odor. Because already today you didn't put hours of asphalt plant operation on some of those other pits. And I do think you should consider that. It's a general comment. So in this case, it's 6 to 9. It makes sense because of normal operations and when the trucks have to come in and when they have to prepare and when they have to clean. So that's great. But I do think it's important that you consider hours of operation for asphalt pits and all the plants where they're used. That was my general comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I make- Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make a general observation as well. During the contentious Greshel pit discussions where we had 40 or 50 letters of opposition, several of those letters actually cited the Morotech pit as a good example and good stewards of the community. And they've taken measures that are not even required as far as mitigation measures for noise, dust, and other, air pollution abatement issues on their own that are not required. So I just want to point out that they have been extremely good stewards in the area.
Thank you. Mr. Schuman?
Yeah, Ms. Anderson, I was just concerned about, is there a number of days limit on the Morotech pit? I know they had mentioned some months that they would do their crushing and work. Is there actually a restriction on the number of days?
We do not have a day restriction out there. Generally Monday through Saturday, but not a number of days a year. That pit is, where it's located is a lot busier. One of our biggest customers is Sawyer County Highway Department. So we do have to make a lot more material there than at the other one that we had. So we don't have a day restriction. We don't have a month restriction. In fact, a lot of the winter months, especially now, have been mild enough where if we can get a crusher available, we can come in and do the crushing in the wintertime. Doesn't always work out that way, but it's nice to have the option to be able to make the noise in the winter if we can. And I did also want to point out something I forgot to mention. I sat in virtually on the Greshel hearing because I wanted to hear what the neighborhood was saying and what the concerns were, because I knew that the Morotech pit was right next door. And after that meeting got done, we took and put our heads together and said, what can we do better? What more can we do as far as trying to worry about our operation? And at that time, we decided that when the weather got better, we ended up paving the driveway to the pit down to the bottom to help control the dust. We also decided to, we added additional filters on our asphalt plant. We enclosed our burner, which has helped with noise, and we can't eliminate it completely, but we have been trying, and I appreciate Ginny's comments. We've been really making every effort that we can.
Yeah, I got one more, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Ms. Anderson, has the asphalt plant operators ever considered taking into account wind conditions or anything while they're running that plant? Because it sounds like a lot of these letters were coming from people, a mile away or a couple miles away.
We have not, well, I shouldn't say that. The wind is out of the west almost all the time. So it would be pretty impossible, I believe, to try to accommodate that. If there are suggestions on how to do that, I'd take them. I wish that the wind was blowing to the east, because our neighbor to the west of us, if it was blowing from the east, is the Sawyer County Forest. I wish it would blow that way.
Never works that way.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, anyone else want to speak? Go ahead.
Martin Hanson, go ahead with your comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've heard my written testimony. I appreciate that. I just would also like to commend the applicant in their good faith efforts to accommodate the objections of the residents in terms of noise and smell. However, I have listened to all the applicants for the conditional use permits today, and frankly, my head is spinning over the issue on hours of operation. You have hours of operation for general, you have hours of operations for crushing, you have hours of operations for ready mix plants, hours of operations for asphalt plants. It would seem to me that the committee or the county should look into setting a standard for an overall hours of operations, given that noise is the major objection, so that we don't have all these different conditions on different pits. Lacking that, certainly I would recommend that each town be allowed to set a uniform hours of operation so that all applicants are operating under the same rules. Thank you for my opportunity to comment.
Thank you. Okay, no more? I need a motion to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-029.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Betcher, a second by Mr. Schuman to come out of public hearing on CUP number 21-029. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? We are now out of public hearing.
Discussion action, Town of Round Lake conditional use permit number 21-029. Legal description is previously read into record. This permit is for the renewal of conditional use permit number 18-018 for the location, operation, non-metallic mineral extraction, including rock crusher and asphalt plant. Per my staff report, and I think I'll end up just reiterating the town's conditions as well, in that mine are very similar, minus one item here. The town had conditions for approval with the following hours of operation: that the normal hours of operation be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, that crushing hours be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, with allowance to extend the crushing hours until 9 p.m. if special warrants demand. That the asphalt plant hot mix would be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with maintenance allowed 1 hour before startup and 1 hour after shutdown, and that other maintenance is allowed 1 hour before startup and shut down, and that additional trees are planted on the berm. I did notice one change from my conditions as listed in the staff report for what the town has, and that's specifically on the crushing hours. The crushing hours is amended in 2018, where 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The town has it listed as 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. Now, again, these would be conditions unique to the zoning committee to either implement or not.
Yes. Come up. Come on up.
Ginny Chabek, 10363N McLean Road. The 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is an attempt to standardize crushing hours across the pits in that area in Round Lake Township.
Okay. Be it the Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
7 a.m. to what, 10 p.m.?
7 to 7.
p.m. 7 to 7, Monday through
Friday is what the town has. That would be a change as to what their current plan of operation is listed as.
We would love to keep the Saturday, but we heard the residents, and it was an agreement and a discussion that we had to change it to Friday. we just, we may have to just be in the pit longer crushing, but we haven't had to use a Saturday for a year or two. So we're hoping that, it'll be a good meet in the middle.
But Ms. Anderson, your asphalt plant is 6 to 9 PM Monday through Saturday.
Correct.
Where's the town at? They with that too?
They are.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I would just like to make a general comment. There was, an individual that just spoke on having more of a standard uniform hours of operation. And in a perfect world, that would be great. But again, with pits throughout the county in different areas with mixed residential or 0 to very little residential, those hours are tough to have as a standard, because I think, and this committee has kind of been through that as well, as there's concessions that are made to pits that are near residential areas to try to, again, mitigate some of those concerns where other pits, be it in other locations, it's more feasible for them to have longer hours. So in a standard, nice, easy working world, it would be great to have uniform hours, but that isn't the world we live in. So
Thank you. Okay, committee, it's up to you.
Can I make another comment?
Yes, go
Before a
ahead.
motion is made? Yeah, so before a motion is made, I'd just like to say a couple things on this pit, because it's close to my house as well. I drive by it all the time, and some of the opposition letters, in addition to the, smell of the asphalt plant and potential, tarry substance, there was also references of moving it someplace else. Can't we just move it someplace else, not in my backyard kind of thing? But if you notice on the map, this borders directly up against almost 21,000 acres of Sawyer County forest. So there's probably not a better place to move it. And like it's been stated, there are extensive mitigation steps that they've taken for abatement issues of noise and pollution that weren't even required. The berms and planting of trees and stuff like that. So they've taken a lot of steps there with that. The highway commissioner, we heard him speak about how important the asphalt plant is for the county. And as far as the crushing hours, we're potentially going to allow 7 to 9 p.m. under special conditions, that warrant because of an emergency. And I would also recommend that we do that same thing for Saturday as well. And like I stated earlier, they don't want to work on Saturday. They don't plan to work on Saturday because it costs them more money with overtime and everything else. But I think we should allow that in there for emergency contingency operations as they warrant. That's all I have. I would also add on a personal note, I do spend time in that forest right up to the border of the pit, both hunting and trapping, and I have never personally observed any tarry substance anywhere on the trees or around there. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Pitcher. Okay. What's the committee's desire?
Having said that, I would like to make a motion to approve CUP 21-029 with the conditions stated in the staff report, but adding the emergency conditions to operate the crusher on Saturday during the hours of 7 to 7 if the need arises. Well, that was part of the staff report, that they would plant more trees on the berm.
that one was part of the town, so you would want to make that as part of a condition then. That one's listed in the staff report.
Yes, they had already agreed to plant more trees, so I have no issue with that.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Betcher and a second by Mr. Paulson to approve the CUP number 21-029. Any more discussion, Mr. Schuman?
Yes, in discussion, Jay, then what are the hours we're setting for them for both the rock crusher and the asphalt plant?
So from what I heard from Mr. Betcher is that the normal hours of operation would be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. That crushing hours be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And that if special warrant demands, they could crush until 9 p.m. through Monday through Friday and 7 to 7 on Saturday. That the asphalt plant be 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday, with maintenance allowed 1 hour before startup and 1 hour after shutdown.
Yeah, all of that is what I intended to say. Thanks.
Sounds
He
good.
did say it. He did.
Sounds good.
Did good, Mr. Betcher. So, Ms. Bennett, you got any
Bruce.
comment?
No, I'm just listening. My comment isn't, when I made my statement, it isn't that we shouldn't have hours for any of these. It's that I'm afraid what's going to happen, the zoning is going to start getting complaints. We're going to be inundated with them checking out these issues. And as the resident pointed out, that it should be a standard, and I know that it might be difficult, but look what we're doing here. How many of these we're going through? Who is going to go back when there's a complaint to check all of these? And then the zoning's inundated to try to keep up with this.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, Kathy, roll call, please.
Jesse Betcher,
Yes.
Tweed Schuman,
Yes.
Ron Buckholz,
Yes.
Bruce Paulson,
Yes.
Dawn Pettit,
Yes.
all in favor.
Okay.
Findings of fact, it would not be damaging to the rights of others or property values. It would not create an objectionable view, and it would not destroy prime agricultural lands.
We only got one discussion action
All right, we're moving on to new business. We can kind of go through some of these relatively quickly. As far as the storage units and kind of shipping container discussion, I didn't have enough time to really kind of prepare any kind of draft language of any of this. Last month, we talked about, these are kind of two separate issues. One is, does Sawyer County want to allow or continue to allow shipping containers as to be viewed as an accessory structure? That's kind of where this came up initially. We had heard a conditional use permit a few months back now where an individual wanted to have a shipping container on their property to be used as that accessory structure on vacant property. So they applied for a conditional use permit to have an accessory structure on vacant land, and they were ultimately denied that conditional use permit. So there was an individual here at the start of the meeting that had some concerns with shipping containers, and that he thought they were to be allowed anywhere within the county and that you don't need permits on them. He had brought up some information that Bill Chrisman had 20-some years ago on this issue. I don't know where that information is coming from. We've always treated shipping containers as being an accessory structure. Whether something's portable, temporary, movable, it's still considered a structure and therefore still subject to permits and permit fees and all other applicable standards within the ordinance. The question really comes up is whether or not Sawyer County wants to allow or to continue to allow shipping containers. There's quite a few out there right now, and if we change ordinances to not allow them, we are then in essence creating a lot of existing non-conforming structures, which is always a kind of a nightmare scenario. In conversations that I have had with other counties, this comes up in other counties. We aren't unique in this, and we share a similar Google Groups email in which we can bounce questions off other zoning administrators. Other counties are allowing them, and they are allowing them as accessory structures, and that they also be required fees as well as other ordinance requirements that they wouldn't be allowed on vacant property. That's where I would stand with shipping containers. But really it's up to this committee to kind of have some of that, forward discussion on that.
Jay,
if we want to allow them, we should solidify it. So.
Yep, I got a question, Jay. So we collect a fee for all these small accessory buildings, correct?
Correct. So, I mean, this
And
is
is
that
there a
double edge.
minimum, is there a minimum building we allow or not?
No, so this is kind of the double edge thing. So right now, we don't allow accessory structures on vacant property or property that doesn't contain a primary dwelling. So if we look at just shipping containers, the first part of the conversation, I would want to keep it with that this is somewhere you have a house on that property and you want to have a shipping container on there that's used as, like a shed or a storage building. The other aspect comes up is we're getting a lot of requests for people that are wanting to have some type of smaller shed and or a shipping container on vacant land, a land that doesn't contain a primary dwelling. So there is no allowances right now for accessory structures on vacant land. If you have a house on a property, we would only start to collect a fee and a permit for a structure that is larger than 100 square feet.
I thought with vacant land though, then you have to have a plan to build a home in 3 years.
That's through the conditional use permit clause. So I would be, as part of the discussion for storage units on vacant property, we would potentially want to look at an allowance for a small storage shed on vacant land with no requirements of having to build a house within a time frame. But again, that's a longer discussion, and I would want to, kind of get some draft language together if we want to go down that road. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, go ahead.
Then we talked about this at last meeting, and I thought we gave reasonable direction. And so my recommendation would be let the zoning administrator draft some language so we can look at some specific recommendations. And I guess my editorial comment is that we're not like other counties. We're tourist based, and people come here for land, water, forest. So we should consider that as well.
Yep. So I will be drafting additional language on this. I didn't have time to get it into this agenda, but I do want to keep it on there to just kind of keep that discussion moving. So
Sure, I think it's great. Yeah. Yeah, quickly, ma'am, go ahead.
Jenny Chabak, 10363 McLean Road. I'm a neighbor of that other shipping container that recently came before this board. And the only thing I want to add is when you draft your language, please consider making some specific conditions about what it looks like. If there's a big difference between a nicely painted, level shipping container sitting on blocks and what we have on McLean Road. If you ever drive down there, take a look at it. It's rusty. It was just dumped off on the side of the road, pushed into the woods. It's leaning over and it's got a bunch of stuff piled up against it. So, we can do this right if we're going to do this, but we shouldn't be open-ended. That's all.
Yeah, we took a look at that too, we discussed that too at the last meeting, so, thank you, man.
And Mr. Chairman, before I go, Jay, would we send this to the towns then once we draft the language and get their opinion before we would approve it?
Yep. Yeah, it'd be a zoning ordinance amendment, so it would require 50% town approval and a public hearing.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion on there?
Yes.
Ms. Pettit, you got anything on the containers? Okay.
No.
Betcher?
So it sounds like there's two separate topics. There's one regarding the shipping containers, and then there's another topic of allowing some sort of structure on vacant land. And so I think, if we could maybe get something written in a draft form where we could.
Yeah, and maybe it's something where we don't allow shipping containers as an accessory structure on vacant land because there would be less upkeep to that and it would maybe look more unsightly versus allowing a shipping container on land that contains a primary dwelling. That's one way to look at it. I don't think anyone has concerns with using a shipping container as a storage area. I mean, they're well built. They're usually water and vermin proof, and they have great security and fire protection to them. I mean, tree falls on it, it's not going to damage it that much. but they do have that stigma of being somewhat unsightly, that they rust easily, that they're not, painted. It looks different than your custom, vinyl or wood sided shed with asphalt shingles on the top. So that becomes a very hard ordinance to craft if we start talking about aesthetics to how something looks. So we talked about, landscaping requirements of it. That I can just see being really difficult to try to draft and really enforce then at that point. But that was my 2 cents. And I will come back with draft language on both of those, and we can discuss that next month. So if there's no other discussion on that, we can move on to the next one.
Well, I just want our other comment, when we discussed that last month. We also was talking about these vacant semi-trailers that they put on. They take the axles off and set them on the ground. I mean, there's a lot of them around the country too, so that's still gonna be part of that, right, Jay?
Yeah, I mean, the shipping containers that we see, yeah, they come in 2 forms. They're one as being, the cargo crates on rail cars and or boats, larger ships, those types of shipping containers. But we also do see them as, like you said, the back end of a semi-trailer. Now, if they're continued on the actual trailer itself, that becomes even more sticky, because if it has DOT approval and is a registered and licensed vehicle, I don't have enforcement to remove those. They're not even considered structures at that point if they're remained wheel and chassis on and current licensed. Because someone could park it there, have it licensed, hook up a semi to it, and haul it back off the property. And that occurs, so.
Yeah, I understand that part, but the ones I've seen there, they pull the axles right off and they're set and drop.
And that one, I would consider that is a structure at that point. You're using it as a structure as opposed to an actual trailer at that point.
Okay. All right.
These are the fun things that we always get to deal with zoning, so. The only other thing I have then is the fee schedule.
Okay.
I was told to, bring this back this month with kind of some updates as to why some of these amounts were chosen. So let me go to that on the computer here. So I'm looking at 3 changes as part of the fee schedule. Actually, sorry, 4 changes, I do believe. Yeah, 4 changes. So the first one is the rezone public hearing fees. That would be a proposal from $400 to $500. And the main reason behind that is a rezone application also requires that extra level of county board approval. And that's just really taking into consideration the extra time that really boils down to myself having to prepare items for county board and in attendance of those county board meetings. So again, these fees are scheduled and set out there as to have no cost back onto the county for finalizing this type of request. And with myself attending more of those rezone hearings to county board and preparing that information so that county board is accurately given the right information, it does take a little bit extra for me to prepare that. So that is why the increase from 400 to 500 is proposed. Moving down to the variance applications. It was brought up earlier in this meeting by several individuals is that stuff isn't getting easier. We're having more and more complex issues, more and more people that are aware of what's occurring in their neighborhoods, and they may or may not like that and want to take extra levels to derail that or appeal that. And that is where some of these fees are being accommodated in that as part of the Board of Appeals request, we historically have not had any type of legal representation at those board meetings because they've been pretty standard and straightforward. Again, with everything getting more complicated and other individuals may or may not wanting that to occur in their area, we're seeing a lot more complex scenarios. So I have talked with our county administrator, Mr. Hoff, and that we have been given approval to have legal counsel present at those meetings. Our individual of choice is kind of option A is going to be TJ Duffy. And those Board of Appeals meetings, as well as the second item there, the administrative appeal, with having legal counsel there has additional fees. So we've increased that from $500 to $800 to cover the cost of an attorney being present for those committees or for that board.
Jay, the Board of Appeals, is that for any variance application?
It is.
Okay. And the administrative appeals, what happens if somebody wins their appeal? I mean, shouldn't we give them their money back?
That would have a large impact to my budget.
Right.
In that there's publication fees, there's staff time, there's reporting time, there's copies cost, there's letters to send out to all adjacent property owners. And there'd be a huge cost to my budget for something like that.
Right, I understand. But I mean, if these people, we want to create a democratic process, and if $800 prevents them from appealing just because it's $800, I think we should be giving them their money back if they win the appeal.
I disagree with that. Really, I do.
I would somewhat disagree with that as well, because I think if you extend that olive branch, you're going to see a lot more people appealing just to try it. Because if they're coming in with an expectation that, hey, if I win, then I get my money back too. Yep, sign me up.
If it's nefarious, they're not going to win. You know.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion to have. Like I said, it would be a huge, semi-huge, budget obligation if we were to have to refund that cost.
How many do we lose? 2, 3 years?
Yeah, I don't have that number in front of me. It's probably only been a few over the last couple decades, to be honest, that someone's actually won it, but it takes a while. And then, is it something where they take this on to circuit court or to district or to state Supreme Court, and then state Supreme Court makes an overruling decision, and we find that out 3 years later, and they come back and say, hey, I want my $800 back for that appeal I filed 3 years ago.
So what are we talking about? $1,600, $2,400 a year?
Yeah, at a tops.
Yeah.
If they were to win their appeal, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's, we're not talking
Right.
real money. I want to make it easy for our citizens to challenge some of our decisions, even though I know they're the correct decisions. I think the fellow back there has a comment. Pat has a comment. Right there. 500.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you come on up.
Thank you, Patrick Delaney, Nelson Road. Bruce, I really like your thought. And again, for the board, nobody's going to appeal because the legal fees are absolutely ridiculous unless they think they're going to win. So they're going to, the $600 or $800 isn't going to stop them. It's the legal fees that are going to stop them. So I agree with Mr. Paulson.
Thank you. I guess my main concern with that is all the expense he's got to go through to publish all that.
Right.
And then, that's money coming out of his budget, and if they win and we give it back to them.
That's what, $2,400,
That's a lot of money, except for retired people.
That's right.
Yeah. Just kidding.
No, that's fine.
I think from a legal standpoint, the question is whether the fee creates a barrier to one's right to due process. My concern with the option of having the fee returned if the applicant is successful is a fewfold. Number one, the county is essentially putting that adjudicatory power of return of fees in the Board of Adjustment's hands. I mean, obviously, they are the adjudicating party of variances in administrative appeals and appeals from this committee. But when you take it to the level of an actual monetary amount at issue, I think that it puts a different level and certainly the Board of Adjustment then has significant more power than it does currently. You know, having legal counsel present at the Board of Adjustment, I think is a good idea. And when we're talking about, you know, an adjudication on fees, hopefully having that legal presence will help. You know, and it certainly is useful to look to what has happened in previous years to get an estimate of the costs. But at the same time, you don't know from year to year. And if I feel like the trends I've seen in this county and other counties, that if there is a possibility of a return in fees, you're going to see a lot more appeals. And again, if it's a nefarious action, and I know from this committee's standpoint, I'm always confident, in the actions that the committee takes with, when it's under advisement. So should the county prevail? Yes. But again, it's putting that decision in a different body's hands.
Right, and right now, being at the 500 that it's at for both of them, and proposing to go up to 800, I mean, we're already losing money on appeals when they're processed, and we've never discussed returning of those fees if someone was to win their appeal process. Again, the reason why the increase is in there is to offset the costs that were already occurring. And that's what I propose, from going from 500 to 800.
Yeah, but even at 800, I'm getting the sense that we're losing money.
For an appeal process,
Yeah.
potentially, yeah. For a variance case, I would say no. Per the staff time, the legal notifications, the copies, the mailings, and having legal present at a just general variance application, I think 800 is pretty spot on. For an appeals process, it all depends. It depends on the nature of the appeal. Does it, go through multiple meetings? Does it get remanded back? Does it go on to circuit court, where again, a legal counsel needs to present arguments at circuit court? Those could be, theoretically, if it goes to state Supreme Court, you could be talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
It could be tens of thousands if it goes to
I have
circuit
a
court.
Right.
question for our legal counsel as well. Under what circumstances would attorneys, would the losing, party have to reimburse attorney's fees?
There's only a handful of statutes that permit recovery of attorney's fees, even, for a losing party. In these types of cases, they're not permitted. I don't know if a judge would have discretion to award them. I mean, in cases, you'll always see, requests for recovery of attorney's fees, but whether a judge actually grants them or even has statutory authority to grant them is a different question.
So in the case of appeals, the person making the appeal could ask for return of the $800.
They could. Well, if they ask for it at the Board of Appeals level, I don't think they have authority. I don't think they have legal basis to do it at the Board of Appeals level. They could do it at the circuit court level. I mean, I suppose they could ask at the Board of Appeals, but I would have significant concerns as to whether the board has authority to do that. But this is where we get into a question of, I'm not legal counsel for the Board of Appeals.
Right.
TJ may have a different opinion. As counsel for this committee, And the department, in the case of administrative appeals, I would argue absolutely not. That there's no basis for recovery, unless, of course, you make the policy decision to put that in your ordinance. If it, as it stands now, if somebody requested return of those charges, I would say no. Think of it from the flip side too. Take Pinewood Properties.
If someone's denied a rezone, they
Right.
want their money back?
Right, so Pinewood Properties, the county had the expense of having counsel there for the Board of Appeals adjustment. But then you also had my expenses. That case, we did a ton of work at the committee level, so the record was very good. And it wasn't an extraordinary amount of my time, but there's still time and preparation and so forth. I would love in those cases to say, you know what, appellants, we won, now you pay our fees. And that's just, again, it's like the flip side of the argument. So again, it's a policy decision, but I think.
Yeah, and we're most certainly losing money still from $800 on an administrative appeal or an appeal to the zoning committee. But again, that's still within reason of not, persuading someone not to apply for one of those because of an astronomical amount.
What is writ preparation?
So writ preparation, the one down there, we went from $25 to $30 an hour. That's basically preparing the record. It's a copy. It's basically a transcript, a more in-depth minutes preparation, and those are generally done for an appeal process of zoning committee's determination. So that went up $5 an hour. We had to do one for Pinewood Property, and it took Kathy, I don't know, 16, 18, 20 hours.
So we do get some reimbursement for the extra effort.
Right, for doing the writ prep, which is, again, is a kind of more of a transcript.
And that is the preparation of the record is a statutory requirement under 59694. That Jay's office has to forward that record.
Yeah, it was at 25. We went up to $30 an hour to again cover staff cost for it.
My point is that the extra effort, we do get some reimbursement for the extra effort.
For
writs or stuff.
right, for typing out basically the transcript of the meeting, yes.
Well, I mean, that's my concern, so.
So that's what I have for discussion. I do need a motion for either approval or amended approval or implementation of a policy within this. I would have an effective date starting January 1, 2022.
This will be when the board approves the budget, this will be part of that approval process.
It will.
Hey, just one question on that writ preparation. So I think you just stated that you're required to do that. So if you're required to do that, how can you justify charging them $30 an hour if it's a requirement?
That's a good question. And I actually just wrote that down.
It's always been on the fee schedule. I guess I
didn't realize that it was on the fee schedule. No, just because something is required under the statutes doesn't mean that the county can't charge for it. So for example, in public records request, you can charge location costs, but not redaction costs. I don't know if there's any case law on the charging for the record preparation. I know in other circumstances where there are appeals costs, like a court reporter, those are paid for by the county. They're not charged back to the applicant. So I can look at that in more detail if you like.
Yeah, and if that's something that we're in violation of statutes and can't do it, well, then I would just wipe that entire thing off. And
maybe it's not. I mean, you're required to have license plates on your vehicle and you still have to pay for those. So, I mean, I'm just, it probably makes sense and you're well within the
but
statutes.
it's a very good, and I'm not just saying it's a very good question because I wrote it down, but it is a good question because, when we look at, but that makes it a very good question too. When we look at what this department is required to do It's very explicit in the statute that you have to transmit the record in an expeditious manner, and there isn't a specific authority saying that the time for that may be charged. So it is I mean, it's definitely worth taking a look at. I'm not aware of any case law on it, but it's a good question.
We don't want to act on this until you get a chance to look at that, right?
Well, I think you can. You can, and then if it is, as part of the budget process, if, there's concerns with it, you can just line strike it as part of the budget.
You can even strike it after the budget's approved.
Right, it would just be something that you don't enforce.
Right. Well, yeah, again, if it's in violation and I can't charge for it, then yeah, I'll just not charge for it. We'll white it out on our sheets and then we'll make the amendment to it next year when it comes back for renewal.
So can I, one more comment? I mean, the sheriff doesn't recover all of his costs by fines, violations, or tickets.
Right.
So why should we be recovering all of our costs, for things that maybe we screwed up on?
Yeah, I'm looking at ways to increase the budget and offset my cost. I have statutory authority to do that. And that's, I guess, what I've done here. I don't know if Sheriff's Department has those same statutory authorities. But again, we can charge fee amounts as to offset costs incurred by the department to provide that service.
Right, and you can't make a profit.
Correct.
But I think the sheriff, with the committee, can increase their fines and citation amounts. So that's my comment. You guys can do what you want.
Hey, Jay, one more question. I don't see anywhere on here where there's any fee for additions or alterations to existing residential buildings, only industrial. Is it on there somewhere?
Yeah, second page here. So it's under this one, land use permits for principal structures, dwellings. It's broken up from principal structure for new and then for addition, alteration
okay.
of principal.
I see it over there. Thank you.
And similarly with accessory structures, we had it different in the past. We actually changed this a few years back in that we were seeing people doing garage additions where they had a 24 by 24 garage and they wanted to add on like 40 feet onto their garage. So we had separate additions for garages and now we just treat them all the same, whether it's an addition onto the garage or if it's a new garage, the square footages are listed there.
Okay. Everybody okay with this then or what?
So you need a motion?
I would need a motion, yep.
So I'll make the motion to approve the new administrative fee schedule effective January 1st, 2022.
Okay. I'll second it. You got any questions, Miss Bennett?
No, sir.
All right. All in favor to approve, signify saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Can we record my negative vote, please, too?
I've got it there.
Okay, motion carries. Okay. Any other business that may become before the committee? If not, we're adjourned.
Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Well, major deadline.